The notification sound was soft, just a little chime, but it cut through the quiet of Clara Bennett's kitchen like a knife. She was standing at the sink, hands deep in soapy water, scrubbing at a casserole dish that had seen better days. The evening light came through the window above the sink, golden and warm, the kind of light that made everything look softer than it really was. She dried her hands on the towel hanging from the oven door and picked up her phone from the counter. The screen showed a notification from Instagram. Clara didn't use Instagram much. She'd only downloaded it 2 years ago because Hope had insisted. "Mama, everyone's on there. It's how we stay connected now." Clara had laughed at that. They lived 20 minutes apart. They talked on the phone 3 times a week. They had Sunday dinners together, or at least they used to. She tapped the notification. It was a post from her daughter. Hope's profile picture smiled up at her, that beautiful face that still looked like the little girl who used to climb into Clara's lap and fall asleep during church service. The photo loaded slowly, line by line, like it was reluctant to show itself. And then it was there. Complete. Undeniable. Hope in a wedding dress. The phone slipped from Clara's fingers. It hit the tile floor with a crack that made her wince, but she didn't bend down to pick it up. She just stood there, staring at the spot where it had fallen, trying to make sense of what she'd just seen. Her daughter. In a wedding dress. Wearing a veil. Holding a bouquet of white roses and eucalyptus. Standing next to a man in a dark suit. The man was tall, handsome, his arm around Hope's waist. They were both smiling at the camera. Behind them was an elegant archway covered in flowers, the kind of setup that cost thousands of dollars. The caption read, "Best day of my life. Mrs. Hope Castellano. Forever starts now." Clara's chest felt tight. She bent down and picked up the phone with shaking hands. The screen had a small crack running through the corner, but the picture was still clear. She zoomed in on Hope's face. Her daughter looked radiant. Happy. Completely at peace. Mrs. Hope Castellano. Clara didn't even know Hope was engaged. She scrolled through the comments. Hundreds of them. Friends congratulating her. Strangers sending heart emojis. People she recognized from Hope's college days. People she didn't recognize at all. Everyone seemed to know. Everyone except Clara. She tapped on Hope's profile and scrolled back through the recent posts. There were photos from a bridal shower 3 weeks ago. Pictures of Hope holding champagne glasses with her girlfriends, all of them wearing matching silk robes. There was a photo of an engagement ring from 2 months ago, a massive diamond that caught the light like a small star. The caption said, he asked. I said yes. Can't wait to marry my best friend. 2 months ago. Clara felt something cold settle in her stomach. She went back further. There were photos of Hope and this man, Marcus Castellano, going back almost a year. Dinner dates at restaurants Clara couldn't afford. Trips to places like Napa Valley and Miami. Photos at charity galas where Hope wore gowns that probably cost more than Clara's monthly rent. How had she missed all of this? Clara's hands were still shaking as she pulled up Hope's number and pressed call. The phone rang once. Twice. 3 times. She could picture Hope looking at the screen, seeing Mama pop up, deciding whether or not to answer. On the 5th ring, Hope picked up. Hey, Mama. Her voice was light, casual, like this was any other day. Clara's throat felt tight. She tried to speak, but nothing came out at first. She swallowed hard and tried again. Hope. Her voice cracked on the name. Did you get married? There was a pause on the other end. Clara could hear traffic in the background, the distant sound of a car horn, voices passing by. Hope was outside somewhere. Walking down a street. Living her life. Yeah, Mama. Yesterday. Yesterday. Clara gripped the edge of the counter to steady herself. Why didn't you tell me? The words came out as a whisper. Why wasn't I invited? Another pause. This one longer. When Hope spoke again, her voice had changed. It was cooler now, more guarded. It was just a small thing, Mama. Very intimate. Only immediate family. Only immediate family. The words hit Clara like a slap. She stared at the phone in her hand, at the cracked screen, at her daughter's face frozen in that wedding photo. I'm your mother, Hope. I know, Mama. It was Marcus's family mostly. his parents, his siblings. You know how it is. We wanted to keep it small. Small. Clara looked at the photo again. The elaborate flower archway. The professional photographer. The designer dress. That doesn't look small, baby. That looks expensive. That looks planned. Hope sighed, the kind of sigh that said she was already tired of this conversation. Can we not do this right now? I'm on my honeymoon. We're about to go to dinner. Your honeymoon. Clara felt tears burning at the back of her eyes, but she blinked them away. She wouldn't cry. Not yet. Where are you? Santorini. Greece. Of course. Greece. Clara had never been further than 2 states away from where she was born. Hope, I saved for your wedding. I've been saving for years. I have almost $15,000 set aside for. Mama, I don't need your money. Hope's voice was sharp now, impatient. Marcus took care of everything. His family took care of everything. It's fine. It's fine. Clara closed her eyes. Behind her eyelids, she could see Hope as a little girl, maybe 6 years old, holding Clara's hand as they walked through the grocery store. Hope had pointed at a bag of fancy cookies, the kind with chocolate and cream filling, and asked if they could get them. Clara had looked at the price tag and then at the generic brand right next to it, half the cost. She'd said no, and Hope had nodded without complaint. That night, Clara had lain awake doing math in her head, trying to figure out how to give her daughter more. When are you coming home? Clara asked. Next week. Look, I have to go. Marcus is waiting. I'll call you when we're back, okay? Hope. Love you, Mama. Bye. The line went dead. Clara stood there in her kitchen, holding the phone to her ear even though there was nothing but silence on the other end. The golden light through the window had faded to a dusky purple. The water in the sink had gone cold. The casserole dish sat half-scrubbed, forgotten. She looked at the phone again. At the wedding photo. At her daughter's smile. Then she set the phone down on the counter, walked to the small kitchen table, and sat down. Her legs felt weak, like they might not hold her up anymore. What does a mother do when she stops being family? My name is Clara Jean Bennett. I'm 63 years old, and for my entire life, I believed that family was everything. I believed that if you loved someone enough, if you sacrificed enough, if you worked hard enough, then that love would come back to you. I believed that the bond between a mother and daughter was unbreakable. I was wrong. I raised Hope alone. Her father, David, died when she was only 4 years old. Heart attack. He was 32. One day he was here, laughing at something on TV, helping Hope build a tower out of blocks. The next day he was gone, and I was alone with a little girl who kept asking when Daddy was coming home. I worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat. During the day, I cleaned houses for the Harrington family, a wealthy couple with a big house on the north side of town. Mrs. Harrington liked everything done a certain way. The floors had to shine. The windows had to be spotless. The towels had to be folded in thirds and stacked with the edges facing out. At night, I worked at a call center, answering customer service complaints until midnight. I was tired all the time. My hands were always dry and cracked from the cleaning chemicals. My back ached. My feet hurt. But I didn't care because I was doing it for Hope. Every dollar I earned went into 2 places, keeping a roof over our heads and saving for her future. I wanted her to have everything I didn't. I wanted her to go to college. I wanted her to have a beautiful wedding someday, the kind with flowers everywhere and a cake with multiple tiers and a dress that made her feel like a princess. I wanted her to walk down an aisle and know that her mother had made it possible. I saved for 18 years. 18 years of skipping meals so she could have new school clothes. 18 years of driving a car that broke down more often than it ran. 18 years of saying no to myself so I could say yes to her. When Hope graduated high school, I had enough saved to send her to State University. She studied business. She was smart, so smart. She made the dean's list every semester. I was so proud I could barely stand it. I told everyone I met. My daughter's in college. She's going to do something important with her life. After she graduated, she got a job at a marketing firm downtown. She moved into a little apartment, started building her career. We still talked all the time. She came over for Sunday dinners. We watched movies together. We laughed at the same things. Then, about 3 years ago, I did something I thought would make her happy. I bought her a house. It wasn't much. A small 2-bedroom cottage on the east side of town. It needed work, new paint, new floors, some updates to the kitchen, but it had good bones. It had a front porch with enough space for a swing. It had a backyard with an old oak tree that would be perfect for kids to climb someday. I used everything I had saved. The wedding fund. My emergency savings. I even took out a small loan. But I didn't care because I could see Hope's face when I handed her the keys. I could see her eyes filling with tears, her arms wrapping around me, her voice whispering, "Thank you, Mama. Thank you." And she did cry. She did hug me. She did say thank you. But something changed after that. The first time Clara noticed the distance, it was subtle. Hope canceled a Sunday dinner. She said she had plans with friends from work. Clara didn't think much of it. Hope was young. She was building a life. Of course she had plans. The second time, Hope was short on the phone. Distracted. Clara could hear voices in the background, laughter, the clink of glasses. "Sorry, Mama, I'm at a thing. Can I call you back?" She didn't call back. The third time, Clara drove by Hope's house and saw a car in the driveway. An expensive car. Black and sleek and new. She almost stopped, almost knocked on the door, but something held her back. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was fear. She started noticing other things too. Hope's clothes changed. She used to wear simple things, jeans, sweaters, practical shoes. Now she wore designer labels. Her handbag probably cost more than Clara's monthly mortgage. Her hair was different too, highlighted and styled in a way that didn't look like something you did at home. When Clara asked about it, Hope just shrugged. "I'm doing well at work, Mama. I can afford nice things now." Clara wanted to be happy for her. She was happy for her. But there was something else too, something she couldn't quite name. It felt like watching her daughter walk away, one step at a time, into a world Clara couldn't follow her into. The Sunday dinners stopped altogether. Hope was always busy. Always had somewhere to be. Someone to see. Clara told herself it was normal. This was what happened when children grew up. They built their own lives. They didn't need their mothers the way they used to. But late at night, lying in bed, Clara felt the weight of the silence. She felt the absence of her daughter's voice, her laughter, her presence. She told herself it would get better. Hope would come back around. They'd find their rhythm again. She never imagined it would come to this. Clara sat at her kitchen table for a long time that night. The house was too quiet. She could hear the refrigerator humming, the clock on the wall ticking, her own breathing. She picked up her phone again and looked at the wedding photo. Really looked at it this time. The venue was stunning. An outdoor garden with manicured hedges and string lights hanging overhead. There were round tables with white linens and tall centerpieces. In the background, she could see people in formal attire, holding champagne glasses. This wasn't a small, intimate ceremony. This was an event. This was the kind of wedding people planned for months, maybe a year. Hope had planned a wedding for a year and never told her mother. Clara zoomed in on the faces in the background. She didn't recognize anyone. Not a single person. Where were Hope's childhood friends? Where was Ashley, who had been Hope's best friend since 3rd grade? Where was Pastor Green, who had baptized Hope when she was 8? Where was anyone from their old life? It was like Hope had erased everything. Everyone. Including her. Clara set the phone down and pressed her palms against her eyes. She wanted to cry, but the tears wouldn't come. She felt hollowed out, empty, like someone had reached inside her chest and taken something vital. Her phone buzzed. A text message. She looked at the screen. It was from Hope. "Sorry if I was short earlier. Just want to enjoy this time with Marcus. Talk soon. Talk soon." Clara stared at the message. "No, I love you. No, I'm sorry I didn't invite you." Just a casual dismissal, like Clara was an obligation to check off a list. She set the phone down and stood up. Her body moved on autopilot. She walked to the hallway closet and pulled out a small cardboard box from the top shelf. Inside were photographs. Hundreds of them. Pictures of Hope as a baby, as a toddler, as a young girl. Hope's first day of kindergarten. Hope's dance recital when she was 7. Hope's high school graduation. Clara spread the photos out on the table and looked at them one by one. In every single picture, Hope was smiling. And in most of them, Clara was right there beside her, her arm around Hope's shoulders, her face beaming with pride. When had that changed? When had Clara become someone Hope wanted to hide? She picked up a photo from Hope's college graduation. They were standing in front of the university's main building. Hope in her cap and gown, Clara in her best dress, the navy blue one she wore to church. They both looked so happy. That was 4 years ago. Just 4 years. What had happened in 4 years to turn them into strangers? Clara knew the answer, even if she didn't want to admit it. Marcus Castellano. She picked up her phone and went back to Instagram. She searched for Marcus's profile. It was public. Of course it was. People like Marcus didn't hide. His bio said, CEO, Castellano Enterprises. Building the future, one investment at a time. CEO. Clara scrolled through his photos. Pictures of him at black tie events. Pictures of him on yachts. Pictures of him shaking hands with people who looked important. His family's wealth was obvious in every image. This wasn't new money. This was old money, the kind that came with expectations and standards, and a very clear idea of who belonged and who didn't. Clara scrolled back to the wedding photo on Hope's page. She read through the comments again. One stood out. It was from someone named Victoria Castellano. Marcus's mother, Clara assumed. The comment said, "Welcome to the family, darling. You're one of us now. One of us." Clara felt something shift inside her. It wasn't sadness anymore. It was something sharper. Something harder. Anger. The next morning, Clara woke up with a clear head. She'd barely slept, but she felt awake in a way she hadn't in months. Maybe years. She made coffee and sat at the kitchen table with her laptop. She pulled up her bank statements and looked at the numbers. After buying Hope's house, she didn't have much left. A few thousand in savings. That was it. She lived modestly. Her rent was affordable. She'd paid off her car years ago. She didn't need much. But Hope didn't know that. Hope thought Clara had given her the house as a gift, free and clear, no strings attached. And maybe that's what it had been at the time. A gift. An expression of love. But now? Now it felt like something else. Clara opened a new browser tab and typed, "How to sell a house that's in your name." She spent the next 2 hours reading. The house was in Clara's name. She'd bought it outright with her savings and the small loan. She'd never transferred the deed to Hope because she'd never thought she needed to. Hope was living there. Hope was happy there. That was enough. But legally, the house was Clara's. She could sell it whenever she wanted. The thought sent a strange thrill through her. Not quite satisfaction. Not quite revenge. Something in between. She picked up her phone and called her friend Lorraine. Lorraine had been a real estate agent for 20 years. If anyone could help Clara navigate this, it was her. Lorraine answered on the second ring. "Clara. Haven't heard from you in a minute. How are you, honey?" Clara took a breath. "I need your help with something." "Of course. What's going on?" "I need to sell a house." "Your place? Are you moving?" "No. Not my place. It's the house I bought for Hope." There was a pause. "Wait. Hope's house? Why are you selling Hope's house?" Clara closed her eyes. "Because she got married and didn't tell me. She didn't invite me to the wedding, Lorraine. I found out on Instagram." "What?" Lorraine's voice went up an octave. "Are you serious?" "Dead serious." "Oh, honey. I'm so sorry." I don't even know what to say. I don't need you to say anything. I just need you to help me sell the house." Another pause. Longer this time. "Clara, are you sure about this? I mean, I get that you're hurt. Anyone would be. But selling her house? That's a big move. The house is in my name. I bought it. I can sell it. Legally, yes. But emotionally? This could blow up your relationship with Hope." Clara laughed, a short, bitter sound. "What relationship, Lorraine? She didn't even tell me she was getting married. She didn't invite me to the wedding. She's on her honeymoon in Greece right now, living a life I know nothing about. There is no relationship to blow up. It's already gone. Lorraine sighed. Okay, if you're sure, I'll help you. But Clara, think about this. Really think about it. Once you do this, there's no taking it back. I know. Clara's voice was steady. I've already thought about it. All right. I'll come by tomorrow and we'll go look at the property, get it appraised, figure out a listing price. Sound good? Sounds perfect. They hung up and Clara sat back in her chair. Her heart was pounding, but her hands were steady. She felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Control. For years, she'd given everything to Hope. Her time, her money, her love. And Hope had taken it all without a second thought. She'd taken the house Clara bought her and used it as a stepping stone into a life where Clara didn't fit. Well, fine. If Hope didn't want Clara in her life, then Clara didn't need to keep giving. She picked up her phone and opened a new text message to Hope. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. What do you say to your daughter in a moment like this? What words could possibly capture the hurt, the anger, the betrayal? In the end, Clara kept it simple. Congratulations on your marriage. I'm happy for you. By the way, I'm selling the house. You'll need to move out in the next 30 days. Let me know if you need help packing. She read it over 3 times. Then she hit send. The message showed as delivered. Then, a minute later, as read. Clara set the phone down and waited. It didn't take long. The phone rang. Hope's name flashed on the screen. Clara let it ring once. Twice. 3 times. Then she answered. Hello. What the hell, Mama? Hope's voice was sharp, furious. What do you mean you're selling the house? Exactly what I said. I'm selling it. You can't do that. I live there. The house is in my name, Hope. I can do whatever I want with it. This is insane. You're being insane. Clara's jaw tightened. I'm being insane? I bought you that house, Hope. I used every penny I had saved. I took out a loan. I did it because I loved you and I wanted you to have a good start in life. And you repaid me by cutting me out of yours. I didn't cut you out. You got married without telling me. Clara's voice rose despite herself. You planned an entire wedding, Hope. A big, expensive wedding. And you didn't invite me. You didn't even tell me you were engaged. I had to find out on Instagram like some stranger. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Explain it to me. Make me understand how you could do that to your own mother. There was silence on the other end. Clara could hear Hope breathing, fast and shallow. Marcus's family. Hope started, then stopped. What about them? They have certain expectations. Standards. I couldn't just what? Bring your working class mother around? Is that it? That's not fair. Fair. Clara laughed, and it sounded harsh even to her own ears. You want to talk about fair? I worked 2 jobs for 18 years, Hope. I cleaned other people's houses. I scrubbed their toilets. I answered phone calls from angry customers until midnight. I did it all so you could have a better life. And now that you do, now that you've got your fancy husband and your fancy life, I'm an embarrassment. I'm something to hide. Mama, that's not. Save it, Hope. I don't want to hear it. The house goes on the market next week. You have 30 days to find somewhere else to live. I suggest you ask your new family for help. I'm sure they have plenty of space. You can't do this to me. I already did. Goodbye, Hope. Clara hung up before Hope could respond. Her hands were shaking now, adrenaline coursing through her veins. The phone immediately started ringing again. Hope calling back. Clara declined the call. It rang again. She declined it again. Then the text messages started. Mama, please. Let's talk about this. You're overreacting. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry I didn't invite you. But you can't sell my house. This is cruel. I can't believe you're doing this to me. Clara read each message as it came in. Then she turned off her phone and set it on the table. The silence that followed was absolute. She sat there for a long time, staring at the dark screen of her phone, feeling the weight of what she'd just done settling over her. There was no going back now. Over the next few days, Clara moved through her life like she was underwater. Everything felt distant, muffled. She went to work at the Harringtons' house and cleaned their kitchen until it sparkled. She went to the grocery store and bought the same things she always bought. She came home and made dinner for one. But inside, She was churning. Hope kept calling. Clara didn't answer. Hope kept texting. Clara didn't respond. After 3 days, the messages stopped. The calls stopped. The silence returned, heavier than before. Lorraine came by on Tuesday with a clipboard and a camera. They drove to Hope's house together. Clara had a key. She'd never given it back, and Hope had never asked for it. The house looked the same as it always had. The front porch needed a new coat of paint. The grass was a little overgrown, but it was still charming, still the kind of place that made you think of Sunday mornings and coffee on the porch. They went inside. Clara hadn't been here in months. The last time was before Hope had started dating Marcus, back when Hope still invited her over. The inside had changed. The furniture was different. Expensive leather couch. A glass coffee table. Abstract art on the walls. This didn't look like the Hope Clara knew. This looked like someone trying very hard to be someone else. Lorraine walked through each room, taking notes, snapping photos. Clara followed behind, silent. In the bedroom, Clara noticed a framed photo on the nightstand. It was from the wedding. Hope and Marcus, arms around each other, smiling at the camera. Clara picked it up and looked at it closely. Hope's dress must have cost thousands. The flowers in her bouquet were perfect, not a single petal out of place. Everything about the photo screamed money, elegance, status. Everything except Hope's eyes. Clara looked closer. Maybe she was imagining it. Maybe she was seeing what she wanted to see. But there was something in Hope's expression that didn't quite match the smile. Something tight around her eyes. Something that looked almost like fear? Sadness? Clara couldn't tell. She set the photo down and followed Lorraine back outside. It's a good property, Lorraine said as they stood on the front lawn. Needs a little cosmetic work, but the structure is solid. I think we can list it for about $250,000. Maybe more if we get the right buyer. Clara nodded. $250,000. After paying off the loan, she'd walk away with almost everything she'd put into it. Maybe even a little more. How fast can we move on this? Clara asked. Lorraine looked at her carefully. You're really sure? I'm sure. Okay. I'll have the paperwork ready by end of week. We can list it next Monday. Good. They got back in Lorraine's car. As they pulled away from the curb, Clara looked back at the house. She thought about the day she'd first seen it. How excited she'd been. How she'd imagined Hope living there, maybe with a family someday. Grandchildren running around in that backyard, climbing that oak tree. Those dreams felt like they belonged to someone else now. The listing went live on Monday morning. By Monday afternoon, Clara had 3 requests for showings. The housing market was hot. The neighborhood was desirable. The price was fair. Lorraine called her Tuesday evening. We have an offer. Already? Full asking price. Cash buyer. They want to close in 3 weeks. Clara sat down. 3 weeks. That was fast. They're investors, Lorraine continued. They want to flip it. Update the kitchen and bathrooms, new floors, then put it back on the market. This is a good offer, Clara. Clean, no contingencies. I recommend you take it. Clara closed her eyes. Once she accepted this offer, it was done. Hope would have to leave. There would be no going back. Do you need time to think about it? Lorraine asked gently. Did she? Clara thought about Hope's face in that wedding photo. She thought about the text messages that had finally stopped coming. She thought about the word that kept echoing in her head. Family. No, Clara said. I don't need time. Accept the offer. You sure? I'm sure. Okay. I'll let them know. Congratulations, Clara. I'll get the paperwork started. They hung up. Clara sat in her quiet kitchen and felt nothing. Not satisfaction. Not regret. Just a hollow emptiness where something used to be. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. She opened it. Mrs. Bennett, this is Marcus Castellano. Hope's husband. We need to talk. I'm coming by your place tomorrow at 2 p.m. Please be home. Clara read the message twice. The tone was clear. This wasn't a request. This was a command. She typed back, I'll be here. Then she set the phone down and wondered what tomorrow would bring. She didn't have to wait long to find out. Marcus Castellano arrived at exactly 2 o'clock the next day. Clara watched from her window as a black Mercedes pulled up in front of her small rental house. The car looked out of place on her street, too shiny, too expensive. Marcus stepped out. He was tall, probably 6'2", with dark hair styled perfectly. He wore a suit even though it was the middle of the afternoon on a Wednesday. The suit looked expensive. Everything about him looked expensive. Clara opened the door before he could knock. Mrs. Bennet. He didn't smile. Didn't offer his hand. Just stood there, looking at her like she was a problem he needed to solve. Marcus. Clara stepped aside. Come in. He walked into her small living room and looked around. His expression didn't change, but Clara could read the judgment in his eyes. The worn couch. The dated TV. The carpet that had seen better days. This was a different world from the one he lived in. Would you like something to drink? Clara asked, more out of habit than hospitality. No. This won't take long. He remained standing. I'm here to discuss the house situation. There's nothing to discuss. I've accepted an offer. The sale closes in 3 weeks. His jaw tightened. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. Do you have any idea what you're doing to Hope? She's devastated. Is she? Clara felt that anger rising again, hot and sharp. Funny. She didn't seem devastated when she got married without telling me. She didn't seem devastated when she planned an entire wedding and didn't bother to invite her own mother. That was a complicated situation. No, it was a simple situation. She was ashamed of me. And you probably encouraged it. Marcus's eyes flashed. I don't know what Hope has told you about our family, but we have certain standards. Standards. Clara laughed. You mean your family looked at me and decided I wasn't good enough? Working class. Poor. Not the right kind of people. Is that it? I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Clara crossed her arms. Here's what I think happened. Hope met you. She fell in love, or whatever she thinks is love. And then she met your family. Your mother. Your father. All your rich friends. And suddenly she realized that having a mother who cleans houses for a living doesn't fit the image. So she started pulling away. Started making excuses. Started living a whole separate life where I didn't exist. You're oversimplifying. Am I? Then tell me, Marcus. Why wasn't I invited to the wedding? He was quiet for a moment. Then, my mother thought it would be better to keep the ceremony small. Intimate. Just immediate family. I am immediate family. You know what I mean. Yeah, I do. I know exactly what you mean. Clara felt tears burning behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not in front of him. Hope chose your family over me. And now she has to live with that choice. Marcus's expression hardened. You're being petty. Vindictive. This isn't about Hope's wedding. This is about you feeling rejected and lashing out. Maybe it is. So what? I gave that girl everything. Everything. And she tossed me aside like I was nothing. Like I was an embarrassment she needed to hide. Well, I'm done being tossed aside. I'm done being treated like I don't matter. By selling her house? By putting her out on the street. She's not on the street. She has you. She has your family. She has all those people who matter more than I do. I'm sure one of them will be happy to help her. Marcus took a step closer. His voice dropped, cold and controlled. Let me make something clear, Mrs. Bennet. My family has resources. Lawyers. We can make this very difficult for you. Clara met his gaze steadily. The house is in my name. I bought it. I can sell it. Your lawyers can't change that. Maybe not. But we can make the process painful. Drawn out. Expensive. Then do it. Clara felt surprisingly calm. Go ahead and throw your money and your lawyers at me. It won't change anything. The house is sold. Hope needs to move out. End of story. They stared at each other for a long moment. Clara could see him calculating, trying to figure out if she was bluffing, if there was an angle he could work. Finally, he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a checkbook. How much? He asked. Excuse me, how much do you want? To cancel the sale. To let Hope keep the house. He clicked open a pen. Name your price. Clara felt something cold settle in her chest. You think this is about money? Everything's about money, Mrs. Bennet. Not to me. Not this. Everyone has a price. He poised the pen over the checkbook. 50,000? 100. Get out. Be reasonable. Get out of my house. Clara walked to the door and opened it. Now. Marcus stared at her like he couldn't quite believe what he was hearing. Like he'd never met someone who wouldn't take his money. You're making a mistake, he said. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. Now leave. He walked to the door slowly, like he was giving her time to change her mind. When he reached the threshold, he turned back. Hope loves you, you know. She's just caught between two worlds right now. Then she needs to figure out which world she wants to live in. Because she can't have both. Marcus left without another word. Clara watched as he got back in his expensive car and drove away. Then she closed the door, walked to her couch, and finally let herself cry. The tears came hard and fast, the kind that shook her whole body. Clara pressed her face into a throw pillow and sobbed. For the daughter she'd raised. For the relationship she'd lost. For the dreams that had died without her even realizing it. She cried until there was nothing left. Until her throat was raw and her eyes were swollen and her chest ached from the force of it. When she finally lifted her head, the room was darker. The sun had moved across the sky. Hours had passed in what felt like minutes. Her phone was ringing. She wiped her eyes and looked at the screen. Lorraine. Clara answered. Hello. Clara, honey, we have a problem. Clara's stomach dropped. What kind of problem? I just got a call from the buyer's attorney. They're pulling out of the deal. What? Why? They didn't say exactly. Just that they've decided to pursue other opportunities. Lorraine paused. Clara, this doesn't feel right. The deal was solid. They were ready to close. Something changed. Clara closed her eyes. She knew exactly what had changed. Marcus and his family. Their lawyers. Their resources. They got to them, Clara said quietly. What? Marcus Castellano. Hope's husband. He came by today. Threatened to make things difficult. I guess he meant it. Lorraine swore softly. Can they do that? Legally? I don't know. Maybe they paid them more to walk away. Maybe they threatened them with something. Does it matter? Clara. Can we find another buyer? Of course. The house is priced well. We'll get more interest. But... Lorraine hesitated. If they're actively trying to sabotage the sale, they might do it again. Clara felt that anger returning, sharper than before. Then we list it higher. We make it harder for them to buy people off. And we find buyers who won't be intimidated by some rich family throwing their weight around. Okay, I'll relist it tomorrow. But Clara, you need to be prepared. This could get ugly. It's already ugly, Lorraine. They hung up. Clara sat in the gathering darkness of her living room and felt the weight of what she was up against. The Castellanos had money. They had power. They had connections. What did Clara have? A job cleaning houses. A small savings account. Stubbornness. Maybe that would be enough. Maybe it wouldn't. But she wasn't backing down. Not now. Her phone buzzed again. A text message. This time from Hope. I know what you're trying to do. I know you think you're teaching me some kind of lesson. But this is my life, Mama. My home. You can't just take it away because you're mad at me. Clara stared at the message. Her fingers moved over the keyboard before she could stop them. I gave you that home. I gave you everything. And you threw it back in my face. Maybe it's time you learned that love isn't something you can take for granted. She sent it before she could second-guess herself. The response came quickly. You're supposed to love me no matter what. You're my mother. That's what mothers do. Clara felt something break inside her chest. She typed back slowly, carefully. I do love you. I've always loved you. But love doesn't mean letting you treat me like I'm nothing. Love doesn't mean accepting disrespect. Love doesn't mean sacrificing my dignity so you can be comfortable in your new life. I'm still your mother, Hope. But I'm also a person. And I deserve better than what you gave me. This time, there was no immediate response. Clara watched the screen, waiting for the 3 dots that meant Hope was typing. They never appeared. She set the phone down and looked around her small living room. This house might not be much, but it was hers. She'd earned it. Every stick of furniture, every dish in the kitchen, every thread in the carpet. She'd worked for all of it. She'd worked for Hope's house too. And Hope had taken it without understanding what it cost. Maybe it was time Hope learned. The house went back on the market the next day. This time, Lorraine listed it for $10,000 more. If they want to play games, she'd said, we'll make them pay for it. The calls started within hours. But now, Clara noticed something different. After each potential buyer showed interest, they'd suddenly back out. Always with vague excuses. Always within a day or two. It happened 3 times in 1 week. Clara knew what was happening. The Castellanos were using their influence, their money, their connections to scare off anyone who might buy the house. On Friday evening, Clara got a call from a number she didn't recognize. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Mrs. Bennet? The voice was female, older, refined. This is Victoria Castellano, Marcus's mother. I was hoping we could meet for coffee. Clara's grip tightened on the phone. I don't think we have anything to talk about. Oh, I think we do. Tomorrow morning? There's a lovely cafe on 5th Street. Say, 10 o'clock. It wasn't really a question. Fine, Clara said. I'll be there. Wonderful. I'll see you then. The line went dead. Clara sat back and wondered what Hope's mother-in-law wanted. Nothing good, she was sure of that. But she'd go. She'd listen. And then she'd do whatever she needed to do. The cafe on 5th Street was exactly the kind of place Clara would never normally go. Everything was white marble and gold fixtures. The coffee probably cost more than Clara's entire grocery budget for the week. Victoria Castellano was already seated at a corner table when Clara arrived. She was elegant in a way that came from generations of money. Perfect posture. Perfect hair. Perfect makeup. She wore a cream-colored suit that probably cost more than Clara's car. Mrs. Bennet. Victoria smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Thank you for coming. Please sit. Clara sat. A waiter appeared immediately and set down a cup of coffee without asking if she wanted one. I took the liberty of ordering for you, Victoria said. I hope you don't mind. Clara minded. But she didn't say so. She just wrapped her hands around the cup and waited. Victoria took a delicate sip of her own coffee, then set it down with precise care. I'll get straight to the point. This situation with the house is unacceptable. Unacceptable to who? To all of us. Hope is distraught. Marcus is worried about his wife. And I'm concerned about what this is doing to our family's reputation. Your family's reputation. Clara felt a laugh bubble up. That's what this is about? Not Hope's feelings. Not the fact that your family excluded me from my own daughter's wedding. Your reputation. Mrs. Bennet, I understand you're upset. Upset doesn't begin to cover it. Victoria's smile became more strained. Nevertheless, we need to resolve this. I'm prepared to make you an offer. I already told Marcus, this isn't about money. Everything is about money, dear. You just haven't heard the right number yet. Victoria opened her purse and pulled out a folded piece of paper. She slid it across the table. Clara unfolded it. It was a check. Made out to her. The amount made her breath catch. $250,000. That's what the house is worth, Victoria said. Give or take. I'm prepared to buy it from you directly. You cancel the sale, transfer the deed to Hope, and walk away with the money you would have made anyway. Everyone wins. Clara stared at the check. It was more money than she'd ever seen in one place. Enough to change her life. To retire early. To never scrub another toilet or answer another angry phone call. All she had to do was give in. No, Clara said. She pushed the check back across the table. Victoria's perfectly composed expression cracked just slightly. Excuse me. I said no. You can't buy your way out of this. Mrs. Bennet, be reasonable. What more do you want? 300,000? Name your price. There is no price. Clara stood up. You people think everything can be solved with money. You think you can buy people, buy their silence, buy their dignity. But you can't buy me. That house was my gift to my daughter. She rejected me, so I'm taking it back. It's that simple. Nothing is that simple. It is to me. Clara picked up her purse. You want to know what I want? I want my daughter back. The real Hope, not this person she's become since she met your son. I want the girl who used to laugh at my jokes and fall asleep on my shoulder during movies and tell me everything. But I can't have that, can I? Because you've taken her. You've turned her into someone who's ashamed of where she came from. Someone who values appearances over authenticity. Someone who thinks love is conditional on status and wealth. Victoria's face had gone cold. You're being dramatic. Am I? Then tell me why I wasn't invited to the wedding. Tell me why your son thought he could buy me off. Tell me why you're sitting here right now trying to do the same thing. Clara leaned forward slightly. Here's the truth, Mrs. Castellano. You don't care about Hope. You care about controlling her. About molding her into whatever fits your family's image. And you definitely don't care about me. I'm just an inconvenience. A problem to be solved with money. That's not true, isn't it? If you actually cared about Hope's happiness, you would have encouraged her to include her mother in her wedding. You would have welcomed me into your family. Instead, you pushed me out. And now you're upset because I'm pushing back. Clara turned to leave. Mrs. Bennet. Victoria's voice was sharp now, all pretense of politeness gone. You should know that my family doesn't take kindly to being challenged. We have resources you can't imagine. We can make your life very difficult. Clara looked back over her shoulder. You already have, Mrs. Castellano. You already have. She walked out of the cafe and didn't look back. The war had officially begun. Over the next 2 weeks, Clara learned exactly what resources meant in the Castellano world. First, she got a letter from their attorneys. A thick, intimidating document full of legal language she barely understood. They were claiming that because Hope had been living in the house for 3 years, she had tenants' rights. They were threatening to sue to stop the sale. Clara took the letter to a legal aid office. The attorney there, a tired-looking woman named Janet, read through it and shook her head. It's mostly bluster, Janet said. The house is in your name. You're entitled to sell it. They're just trying to scare you. Is it working? Clara asked. Janet smiled slightly. That's up to you. Clara thought about it. About the check Victoria had offered. About Marcus's threats. About Hope's angry text messages that still came through every few days. Tell them to back off, Clara said. I'm not stopping the sale. Janet nodded. I'll draft a response. But Mrs. Bennet, I should warn you. These kinds of families, they don't give up easily. Neither do I. The next attack came at Clara's work. Mrs. Harrington called her into the study one afternoon. The older woman looked uncomfortable, wouldn't quite meet Clara's eyes. Clara, we need to talk about your employment here. Clara felt her stomach drop. Is something wrong with my work? No. Your work is excellent. It's always been excellent. Mrs. Harrington twisted her hands together. It's just, we've had some concerns raised. About your reliability. Your character. My character? Someone contacted my husband. Said there were some issues with your family. Legal troubles. They suggested we might want to reconsider our arrangement. Clara felt heat rise up her neck. Let me guess. The Castellano family. Mrs. Harrington's silence was answer enough. So what now? Clara asked. Are you firing me? We think it might be best if we part ways. I'm sorry, Clara. We'll give you 2 weeks severance, of course. Clara wanted to argue. Wanted to defend herself. But she could see it was pointless. The Castellanos had reached into her life and poisoned it. Fine, Clara said quietly. She untied her apron and set it on the desk. I'll get my things. She walked out of the Harrington house for the last time. 23 years she'd worked there. 23 years of scrubbing and cleaning and taking care of their home. Gone in 5 minutes because some rich family made a phone call. When Clara got home, there was another letter waiting. This one from her landlord. A notice that her rent was going up. Significantly. Starting next month. Clara stared at it and felt the walls closing in. They were trying to squeeze her out. Make it too expensive for her to keep fighting. Force her to take their money and disappear. She called Lorraine. How's the house search going? Lorraine sighed. I've had 12 showings. Every single person backed out. They're blocking it. The Castellanos. I know. Clara, honey, maybe it's time to consider. No. We keep trying. There has to be someone out there who won't be intimidated. Clara. Please, Lorraine. I can't give up now. I've lost my job. My rent is going up. If I back down now, they win. They get to push me around and erase me, and I can't let them do that. There was a long pause. Then Lorraine said softly, okay, we'll keep trying. But Clara, you need to prepare yourself. They have power. They have money. Sometimes that's enough. After they hung up, Clara sat in her small kitchen and felt the weight of it all crushing down on her. Maybe Lorraine was right. Maybe this was a fight she couldn't win. But then she thought about Hope. About the little girl who used to hold her hand. About the teenager who used to tell her everything. About the young woman who used to call her Mama with real warmth in her voice. That Hope was still in there somewhere. Underneath the designer clothes and the new last name and the wealthy in-laws. And that Hope needed to see that some things were worth fighting for. That dignity mattered. That you didn't let people treat you like you were nothing. Even if those people were family. Especially if those people were family. Clara picked up her phone and opened Instagram. She hadn't posted anything in years. Barely knew how to use the app. But she figured it out. She wrote a simple post. 3 years ago, I bought my daughter a house. I used my life savings. I wanted to give her a foundation, a place to build her dreams. Last month, she got married and didn't tell me. Didn't invite me. I found out on social media. So I'm selling the house. Some people think I'm being cruel. Maybe I am. But I raised my daughter to understand that love requires respect. That family means showing up for each other. She forgot those lessons. So I'm teaching them again. If you've ever felt invisible to the people you love most, you understand. If you've ever given everything to someone who took it for granted, you know why I can't back down. This isn't about revenge. It's about remembering your worth. She hit post before she could second-guess herself. Then she set the phone down and waited. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within an hour, the post had 50 comments. By that evening, it had 500. By the next morning, it had been shared thousands of times. People Clara had never met were weighing in. Some supported her. You did the right thing. She needs to learn respect. Others condemned her. You're a terrible mother. Family should be unconditional. But what shocked Clara most was how many people shared their own stories. Mothers who'd been excluded from their children's lives. Parents who'd been treated like embarrassments. People who'd given everything and received nothing in return. She wasn't alone. The post kept spreading. Local news sites picked it up. Someone created a hashtag worth and dignity. People started using it to share their own stories of standing up for themselves. Clara's phone rang constantly. Interview requests. Talk shows. Podcasts. Everyone wanted to hear her story. She ignored most of them. This wasn't about fame or attention. It was about hope. About their relationship. About making a point. But the post had done something Clara hadn't expected. It had put pressure on Hope. On the third day after Clara's post went viral, her phone rang. Hope's name on the screen. Clara stared at it. Let it ring once. Twice. 3 times. Then she answered. Hello. Mama. Hope's voice was small. Broken. We need to talk. Really talk. Please. Clara closed her eyes. Yes, she said quietly. We do. Can I come over? Tonight? Okay. Come at 7. Okay. I'll see you then. They hung up. Clara sat back and wondered what she would say to her daughter. What Hope would say to her. Whether anything could be salvaged from the wreckage they'd made. She had 5 hours to figure it out. The emotional foundation has been established. Clara's devastating discovery, her painful decision, the escalating conflict with the Castellanos, and finally, the viral post that forces Hope to confront what she's done. Clara spent the 5 hours cleaning her house. She didn't need to. The place was already tidy. But she needed something to do with her hands, something to keep her mind from spinning out of control. She vacuumed the living room, wiped down the kitchen counters, straightened the pillows on the couch. Anything to keep moving. At 6:30, she made coffee. Her hands shook as she measured out the grounds. She kept thinking about what she'd say, how she'd say it, whether Hope would actually listen or if this was just another attempt to manipulate her into backing down. At 6:55, headlights swept across her front window. A car door slammed. Footsteps on the walkway. A knock. Clara took a breath and opened the door. Hope stood on the porch, and for a moment, Clara forgot all her anger. Because this wasn't the polished, sophisticated woman from the wedding photos. This was her daughter, and she looked wrecked. Hope's eyes were red and swollen. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. She wore jeans and an old sweatshirt, the kind she used to wear in college. No makeup. No jewelry except for the massive engagement ring and wedding band that looked too heavy on her thin finger. "Mama," Hope said, and her voice cracked on the word. Clara stepped aside. "Come in." Hope walked into the living room and stood there awkwardly, like she didn't know what to do with herself. Like this was a stranger's house instead of the place where she'd spent countless evenings watching TV with her mother. "Sit down," Clara said. "I made coffee." "Thank you." Hope sat on the edge of the couch. She wrapped her arms around herself like she was cold, even though the room was warm. Clara poured 2 cups of coffee and brought them to the living room. She handed one to Hope and sat in the armchair across from her. Not next to her. The distance felt necessary. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. They just sat there, holding their coffee cups, not looking at each other. Finally, Hope said, "I saw your post." "I figured. Everyone saw it. My phone hasn't stopped ringing. People from high school. Old coworkers. Even people I don't know are messaging me." Hope's hands tightened around her cup. "They're saying terrible things about me." Clara took a sip of coffee. It was too hot and burned her tongue, but she didn't care. "What kind of things?" "That I'm ungrateful. Selfish. A terrible daughter. That you gave me everything and I threw it away." Hope looked up, and her eyes were shining with tears. "Is that what you think? That I threw you away?" Clara set her cup down carefully. "What else am I supposed to think, Hope? You got married without telling me. You planned an entire wedding and I wasn't there. Do you have any idea what that felt like? Finding out on Instagram? Seeing you in that dress, standing next to a man I'd never even met, starting your life without me. I know it was wrong. Wrong doesn't begin to cover it." Clara's voice stayed steady, but there was steel underneath. "I raised you alone, Hope. After your daddy died, it was just us. I worked myself to the bone so you could have opportunities one never had. I saved every penny so you could go to college. I bought you a house, for God's sake. And you repaid me by erasing me from the most important day of your life. I didn't mean to erase you. Then what did you mean to do? Explain it to me. Make me understand." Hope set her cup down and pressed her hands to her face. When she spoke, her voice was muffled. "I was scared." "Scared of what?" "Of them. Marcus's family. They're not like us, Mama. They're different. They have money and power and expectations, and I wanted them to accept me. I wanted to fit in." Clara felt something cold in her chest. "And I didn't fit into that picture." Hope dropped her hands. Tears were streaming down her face now. "I'm not proud of it. I'm not. But yes, that's the truth. Marcus's mother, Victoria, she's very particular about appearances. About image. About the kind of people who belong in their circle. And I knew that if I brought you to the wedding, if they saw where I really came from, they'd look at me differently. So you were ashamed of me?" "No, not of you. Of myself, I guess. Of not being good enough for them. I thought if I could just present myself a certain way, prove that I belonged, then everything would be fine. And having you there would have complicated that." Clara stood up. She couldn't sit anymore. She walked to the window and stared out at the dark street. "Complicated. That's what I am to you now. A complication." "Mama, please. Do you remember when you were 8? Clara didn't turn around. "You had that school project. Everyone had to bring in something that represented their family. Some kids brought fancy photo albums. Some brought heirlooms. You know what you brought?" Hope was quiet. "My work apron. The one I wore when I cleaned houses. You stood up in front of your class and said, 'This is my mama's apron. She wears it when she works. She works really hard so we can have a good life. I'm proud of her.'" Clara's voice got thick. "You were proud of me then. When did that change?" "I'm still proud of you." "No, you're not." Clara turned around. "If you were proud of me, I would have been at your wedding. If you were proud of me, you wouldn't have hidden me from Marcus's family. If you were proud of me, you wouldn't be sitting here making excuses about why you cut me out of your life. Hope stood up too. You don't understand what it's like. The pressure. The constant judgment. Marcus's mother watches everything I do. How I dress. How I talk. Who I associate with. I had to change everything about myself just to be accepted. Then maybe you married into the wrong family. Don't say that. Why not? It's true. If they can't accept you as you are, if they need you to hide where you came from and who raised you, then they don't actually love you, Hope. They love the version of you that you're pretending to be. It's not that simple. It is that simple. Clara's voice rose despite herself. Love isn't supposed to require you to erase yourself. Real love accepts all of you. The good parts and the messy parts and the parts that don't fit into some perfect picture. Your daddy loved me even though I came from nothing. Even though I didn't have an education or money or status. He loved me because of who I was, not in spite of it. That's what real love looks like. Hope's face crumpled. I do love you, Mama. I never stopped loving you. But you stopped respecting me. And without respect, love doesn't mean anything. The words hung in the air between them. Hope wrapped her arms around herself again, and she looked so young, so lost. For a moment, Clara wanted to go to her, to pull her into a hug like she had 1,000 times before. To tell her it would be okay, that they'd figure it out. But she didn't move. Because it wouldn't be okay. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Is that why you're selling the house? Hope asked quietly. To teach me about respect? I'm selling the house because I gave you something precious and you treated it like it didn't matter. Like I didn't matter. That house represented every sacrifice I made for you, Hope. Every late night working. Every time I went without so you could have more. Every dream I deferred so you could chase yours. And you took it and used it as a stepping stone into a world where I'm not welcome. That's not fair. Life isn't fair. I learned that when your daddy died and left me alone with a 4-year-old and a pile of medical bills. I learned it every time I had to choose between fixing my car or buying you new school clothes. I learned it every time someone treated me like I was less than because I cleaned their houses for a living. But you know what? I never let it make me ashamed of who I was. I never pretended to be something I wasn't. And I sure as hell never threw away the people who loved me just to impress people who didn't. Hope was crying openly now. So, what do you want from me? You want me to leave Marcus? To walk away from my marriage? I want you to figure out who you really are. Not who Marcus's family wants you to be. Not who you think you need to be to fit in. Who you actually are, deep down. And then I want you to decide if that person would have left her mother out of her wedding day. I can't change what happened. No, you can't. But you can decide what happens next. You can decide whether you're going to keep living this lie, pretending to be someone you're not, hiding your real life from your husband's family. Or you can stand up and say, this is who I am. This is where I came from. And if you can't accept that, then that's your problem, not mine. Hope wiped at her eyes with shaking hands. You make it sound so easy. It's not easy. Nothing worth doing is easy. But it's necessary. Because right now, you're losing yourself. And you're losing me. And I don't think you even realize it. I do realize it. Hope's voice was barely a whisper. I feel it every day. This constant pressure to be perfect. To say the right things and wear the right clothes and know the right people. It's exhausting. Sometimes I look in the mirror and I don't even recognize myself anymore. Clara felt her anger soften just slightly. Then stop. Stop pretending. Stop trying to be something you're not. It's not that simple, Mama. Marcus's family, they have expectations. Forget their expectations. What about yours? What about what you want? What about what makes you happy? Hope looked at her helplessly. I don't even know anymore. The confession hung between them, raw and honest. Clara saw the truth written all over her daughter's face. Hope was lost. Drowning in a life she'd built to impress people who would never be impressed enough. Clara sat back down. Come here. Hope hesitated, then moved to sit next to her mother on the couch. Not touching. Just close. When did you stop being happy? Clara asked quietly. Hope thought about it. I don't know. It was gradual. At first, being with Marcus was exciting. He took me to nice places. Introduced me to interesting people. I felt like I was living in a movie, Like I'd finally made it. She twisted her wedding ring around her finger. But then I met his family. And they made it very clear that I wasn't quite right. My job wasn't impressive enough. My clothes weren't expensive enough. My background wasn't appropriate. And Marcus? What did he say when they treated you that way? Hope was quiet for a long moment. He said I just needed to try harder. To fit in better. He said his family was important and I needed to make a good impression. He didn't defend you. He said it wasn't personal. That's just how they are with everyone. Clara shook her head. A man who loves you stands up for you. He doesn't ask you to change to make his family comfortable. He tells his family that you're the woman he chose and they need to respect that. Maybe he does love me. Just in his own way. There's only one way to love someone, Hope. Completely. Unconditionally. With respect and support and pride. Anything less isn't love. It's convenience. Hope pulled her knees up to her chest and wrapped her arms around them. She looked like she had when she was a little girl, trying to make herself smaller during a thunderstorm. I don't know what to do, she whispered. Yes, you do. You just don't want to face it. What if I can't? What if I've gone too far? What if I try to be myself again and Marcus doesn't like who that is? Then he doesn't deserve you. Clara reached out and touched Hope's hair gently. Baby, you are worth more than this. You are smart and kind and capable. You don't need to shrink yourself to fit into someone else's idea of who you should be. The right people will love you as you are. The wrong people will try to change you. Hope leaned into her mother's touch. I've missed you so much, Mama. I've missed you too. They sat like that for a while. Not talking. Just being together in the quiet. Finally, Hope said, I'm sorry. For all of it. For the wedding. For pushing you away. For being ashamed when I should have been proud. I'm so sorry. Clara's throat felt tight. I know. Can you forgive me? That was the question, wasn't it? Could she? Should she? Clara thought about all the years of raising Hope alone. The sacrifices. The love. The dreams. She thought about the little girl who used to fall asleep in her lap. The teenager who used to tell her everything. The young woman who used to call her Mama with warmth in her voice. She thought about the pain of the last few months. The betrayal. The rejection. The humiliation of finding out about the wedding on social media. And she thought about what forgiveness meant. Whether it was something you just said or something you had to earn. I want to forgive you, Clara said carefully. But forgiveness without change is just enabling. I can't go back to the way things were, Hope. Where I pretend everything's fine while you keep me at arm's length and hide me from your real life. I won't do that. I can't. What do you want me to do? I want you to stand up. To Marcus. To his family. To anyone who makes you feel like you're not good enough. I want you to stop hiding who you are and where you came from. And I want you to prove to me that you understand what you did. Not just with words, but with actions. How? That's for you to figure out. But Hope, I need you to understand something. The house is still being sold. That doesn't change. You need to find somewhere else to live. Whether that's with Marcus or on your own or wherever, that's your decision. But you don't get to keep the house I bought you while continuing to treat me like I don't matter. Hope flinched. Okay, I understand. Do you? Because I need to know that you really get it. This isn't me being petty or vindictive. This is me drawing a line. This is me saying that I deserve respect, and if I don't get it, there are consequences. I understand, Hope said again, and this time her voice was steadier. I do. And I'm going to do better. I promise. Clara wanted to believe her. She wanted it so badly it hurt. But promises were easy. Actions were hard. We'll see, Clara said. Hope nodded. She stood up slowly, like her body hurt. I should go. Marcus is probably wondering where I am. Does he know you're here? I told him I needed to see you. He wasn't happy about it. Of course he wasn't. Hope moved toward the door, then stopped. She turned back. Mama? That post you made. The one that went viral. Did you mean all of it? About worth and dignity. Every word. Good. Hope's expression shifted, and for just a moment, Clara saw a flicker of the old Hope. The strong one. The determined one. Because you're right. I forgot my worth. I let them make me feel less than. But I'm going to remember now. I promise. She left before Clara could respond. Clara stood at the window and watched Hope's car pull away. She felt exhausted, wrung out, like she'd just run a marathon. But underneath the exhaustion was something else. Something that felt almost like hope. Maybe Hope did understand. Maybe she would change. Or maybe this was just another manipulation. Another attempt to get Clara to back down. Time would tell. The next morning, Clara awoke to her phone ringing. She squinted at the screen. Lorraine. Hello. Clara, you're not going to believe this. We have a buyer. Clara sat up. What? Who? A young couple. First-time buyers. They saw the listing and fell in love with the property. They're pre-approved for financing, ready to move fast. And Clara? They know about the situation. They saw your viral post. They said they want to support you. Are you serious? Dead serious. They're coming with their agent to see the house this afternoon. Can you get Hope to clear out for a few hours? Clara thought about it. I'll handle it. After they hung up, Clara called Hope. It rang 4 times before Hope answered. Mama? There's a showing this afternoon. 2 o'clock. Can you make sure you're not there? Silence on the other end. Hope. Yeah. Okay. I'll be gone. Thank you. Clara hung up and sat back against her headboard. This was really happening. The house was going to sell. Hope would have to move out. There was no going back now. The showing went well. The couple, Jen and Marcus, different Marcus, Clara noted with some irony, were young and excited and completely in love with the house. It's perfect, Jen said, her eyes shining as she walked through the rooms. The porch, the backyard, the neighborhood. This is exactly what we've been looking for. Lorraine smiled. I'll have them draw up an offer this evening. Clara nodded. She should feel happy. Relieved. Instead, she just felt numb. That evening, the offer came through. Full asking price. They wanted to close in 3 weeks. Clara accepted it. She sent a text to Hope. The house sold. You have 3 weeks. The response came quickly, okay? Just 1 word. No argument. No pleading. Just acceptance. Clara stared at the message and wondered what had changed. Over the next few days, strange things started happening. First, Clara got a call from her landlord. He sounded uncomfortable. Mrs. Bennet, about that rent increase I mentioned. Yes, I'm rescinding it. Your rent will stay the same. Clara frowned. Why? Let's just say I had a conversation with someone who helped me see things differently. Your rent stays as is. He hung up before Clara could ask more questions. The next day, she got a call from Mrs. Harrington. Clara, I need to apologize. My husband and I made a terrible mistake. We let ourselves be influenced by people who had their own agenda. We'd like you to come back. Full pay, plus a raise for your trouble. Clara was speechless. I don't know what to say. Say yes. Please. You're the best housekeeper we've ever had. It was wrong to let you go. Clara thought about it. I'll consider it. Can I let you know in a few days? Of course. Take all the time you need. After that call, Clara sat down and tried to make sense of it. Someone was pulling strings. But who? Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Mrs. Bennet, this is Ashley Chin. I was Hope's best friend in high school. Can we meet? I have something important to tell you. Clara stared at the message. Ashley. She remembered her. A sweet girl who had been practically attached to Hope's hip all through school. They'd lost touch after graduation. Clara texted back, when and where? Tomorrow. Coffee at the Daily Grind. 10 a.m. I'll be there. The Daily Grind was a small coffee shop downtown, the kind with mismatched furniture and local art on the walls. Nothing like the Marble Palace where Victoria Castellano had tried to buy Clara off. Ashley was already there when Clara arrived. She'd grown into a pretty young woman, professional-looking in slacks and a blouse. She stood when she saw Clara. Mrs. Bennet. Thank you for meeting me. They sat down with their coffee. Ashley fidgeted with her cup, clearly nervous. I saw Hope's wedding photos, Ashley said finally. On Instagram. I wasn't invited either. Clara felt a pang of sympathy. I'm sorry. It's okay. Well, no, it's not okay. But I understand why. Hope and we haven't been close for a while. Since she started dating Marcus, actually. She pulled away from everyone who knew her before. Why are you telling me this? Ashley took a breath. Because I saw your post. The one that went viral. And I saw what the Castellano family has been doing to you. Blocking the house sale. Getting you fired. Raising your rent. They're trying to crush you. I know. Well, some of us are fighting back. Ashley leaned forward. Hope might have forgotten where she came from, but some of us didn't. Your post inspired people, Mrs. Bennet. A lot of people. And we decided to do something about it. What do you mean? I work in PR. So do a bunch of Hope's old college friends. We put together a campaign. Called landlords. Called employers. Put pressure on the people the Castellanos were using to hurt you. We reminded them that going after someone for standing up for themselves is bad for business. Really bad. Clara's eyes widened. That was you? The rent? My job. Ashley nodded. We couldn't let them win. What they're doing is wrong. And what Hope did was wrong too. You deserved better. Clara felt tears prick at her eyes. I don't know what to say. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. There's something else you should know. Ashley's expression grew serious. Hope's marriage isn't what it looks like on Instagram. Clara's stomach clenched. What do you mean? Marcus controls everything. Where she goes. Who she sees. What she wears. I've seen them together a few times. He talks to her like she's a child. Corrects her in public. Makes decisions for her. And his mother is even worse. She criticizes everything Hope does. Does Hope know you're telling me this? No. We're not in touch anymore. But Mrs. Bennet, I'm worried about her. The Hope I knew wouldn't put up with that kind of treatment. The Hope I knew was strong and independent. But this Hope, she's different. Like someone broke something inside her, and she's just going through the motions. Clara thought about Hope's visit. The defeated look in her eyes. The way she'd said she didn't recognize herself anymore. I saw her a few days ago, Clara said quietly. She came to talk. She seemed lost. She is lost. And I think part of the reason she pushed you away is because you would have seen through Marcus immediately. You would have called him out. Protected her. And she couldn't risk that because she was so desperate to be accepted by his family. So she sacrificed me to keep him. I think she sacrificed herself first. You were just collateral damage. The words hit hard because they felt true. Hope hadn't rejected Clara to be cruel. She'd rejected Clara to survive in a world where being herself wasn't good enough. But that didn't make it hurt less. What should I do? Clara asked. Keep the pressure on. Keep selling the house. Keep holding that line. Because that might be the only thing that wakes her up. She needs to lose something real to understand what she's giving away. Ashley stood up. I have to get to work. But Mrs. Bennet? A lot of us are on your side. We remember what you did for Hope. How hard you worked to give her a good life. And we're not going to let them erase that. After Ashley left, Clara sat alone with her coffee and thought about everything she'd learned. Hope was trapped. Not just by her husband's family, but by her own choices. By the person she'd decided to become. And maybe Clara selling the house wasn't just about teaching Hope about respect. Maybe it was about forcing her to face the reality of what she'd traded for acceptance. Maybe it was about saving her daughter from herself. The days passed quickly. The house sale was processed. Papers were signed. The closing date was set. Hope started packing. Clara didn't help. Didn't offer to. This was something Hope needed to do on her own. But she did drive by the house one afternoon. She parked across the street and watched as Hope carried boxes out to a U-Haul truck parked in the driveway. Hope looked tired. Her hair was pulled back. She wore jeans and an old t-shirt. No makeup. No jewelry except for those heavy rings. Marcus was there too, standing near the truck with his phone pressed to his ear. Not helping. Just supervising while Hope did the work. Clara watched as Hope carried out another box, stumbled slightly, almost dropped it. Marcus didn't even look up from his phone call. Clara's hands tightened on the steering wheel. She wanted to get out. To help. To yell at Marcus for standing there uselessly while his wife struggled. But she didn't. Because this wasn't her problem to solve anymore. Hope had made her choices. Now she had to live with them. Clara drove away before Hope could see her. 2 days before the closing, Clara got a call from an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of her. Hello, Mrs. Bennett. This is Detective Sarah Morrison with the county police. I'm calling because we've received some concerning information regarding threats made against you. Do you have a few minutes to talk? Clara's heart started pounding. Threats? What kind of threats? I'd rather discuss this in person if possible. Can you come to the station this afternoon? Yes. What time? 2 o'clock. I'll be there. Clara hung up and sat down heavily. Threats? Who would threaten her? But she knew. Of course she knew. The Castellanos weren't done fighting. At the police station, Detective Morrison led Clara to a small office. She was a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Thank you for coming in, Mrs. Bennett. I'll get right to the point. We've received multiple reports that members of the Castellano family have been making threatening statements about you. Nothing explicit enough to constitute a crime, but enough to raise concerns. What kind of statements? Things like, she'll regret this and we'll make sure she pays. Again, not explicit threats, but combined with their attempts to interfere with your employment and housing, it paints a concerning picture. Clara felt cold. So what do I do? For now, be aware. Document any contact with them. If anyone from that family approaches you, especially if you feel threatened, call us immediately. We're keeping an eye on the situation. Is there anything else? Detective Morrison hesitated. Off the record? I saw your viral post. I have a daughter myself. If she treated me the way your daughter treated you, I'd probably do the same thing. You're not wrong for standing up for yourself. But these people play rough. Be careful. I will. Thank you. As Clara left the station, her phone buzzed. A text from Hope. Mama, can you come to the house tomorrow? Before the closing? There's something I want to show you. Clara stared at the message. Tomorrow was the last day Hope would have access to the house. The day before the new owners took possession. She texted back, what time? Noon. Okay. Clara had no idea what Hope wanted to show her. But she'd find out tomorrow. Clara arrived at the house at exactly noon the next day. The U-Haul truck was gone. Most of the furniture was gone. The place looked hollow, empty. Hope opened the door before Clara could knock. She looked different. Her hair was down, natural. She wore simple clothes. And something in her eyes had changed. She looked more awake. More present. Thank you for coming, Hope said. Clara stepped inside. The house echoed without furniture. Their footsteps sounded too loud. What did you want to show me? Clara asked. Hope led her through the empty rooms to the back bedroom. The one Hope had used as an office. On the wall, someone had painted something. Clara stepped closer to see. It was a mural. Simple but beautiful. A tree with deep roots and spreading branches. And on each branch, words were written. Sacrifice. Strength. Love. Dignity. Worth. Courage. At the base of the tree, in larger letters, Thank you, Mama. Clara's breath caught in her throat. I painted it last night, Hope said quietly. After everything was packed. I wanted to leave something behind. Something that would last. The new owners can paint over it if they want. But for now, it's here. A reminder of what you gave me. What I forgot. What I'm trying to remember. Clara couldn't speak. Tears were streaming down her face. I know this doesn't fix anything, Hope continued. I know I have a long way to go to earn back your trust. But I wanted you to know that I heard you. I understand now. And I'm going to do better. Clara reached out and touched the painted tree. The paint was still slightly tacky. Fresh. It's beautiful, she whispered. You're beautiful, Mama. Your heart. Your strength. Everything about you. And I'm sorry it took losing this house to remember that. They stood there together, looking at the mural. Mother and daughter. Still broken. Still hurting. But maybe, just maybe, starting to heal. What happens now? Clara asked. Now I figure out who I really am. Away from Marcus's family. Away from their expectations. I'm moving into an apartment. By myself. Marcus isn't happy about it, but I need space. I need to breathe. I need to remember what it feels like to be me. Clara turned to look at her daughter. And Marcus? What about your marriage? Hope's expression was complicated. I don't know yet. Maybe we can work through this. Maybe we can't. But I know I can't keep living the way I have been. I can't keep pretending to be someone I'm not. And if Marcus can't accept the real me then. She trailed off. Then he's not the right person for you, Clara finished. Yeah. Hope smiled sadly. That's what you said before. You were right. They walked through the empty house one more time. Remembering. Letting go. At the front door, Hope turned to Clara. Can I hug you? Clara hesitated for only a moment. Then she opened her arms. Hope fell into them, and they held each other tight. Clara breathed in the scent of her daughter's hair, felt the familiar weight of her in her arms. I love you, Mama, Hope whispered. I love you too, baby. Always have. Always will. They pulled apart slowly. Hope wiped at her eyes. The closing is tomorrow morning, Clara said. After that, the house belongs to someone else. I know. And that's okay. It was never really mine anyway. It was always yours. Your sacrifice. Your love. I just lived in it for a while. Clara nodded. You're going to be okay, Hope. You're stronger than you think. I learned from the best. They said goodbye on the front porch. As Clara walked to her car, she looked back one last time. Hope stood in the doorway of the empty house, and she raised her hand in a wave. Clara waved back. Then she drove away, leaving the house and everything it represented behind. The closing took place the next morning. Clara signed the papers, accepted the check, and handed over the keys. The young couple, Jen and her Marcus, were beaming with excitement. Thank you so much, Mrs. Bennet, Jen said. We're going to take such good care of this place. I know you will, Clara said. And she meant it. She drove home with the check in her purse. $260,000. More money than she'd ever had at once. She could retire if she wanted. Could travel. Could do all the things she'd put off for years. But that's not what the money meant to her. The money meant freedom. Security. The knowledge that she'd stood up for herself and won something back. That evening, Clara's phone rang. An unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Mrs. Bennet? It was a woman's voice. Unfamiliar. Yes, this is Rachel Castellano, Marcus's sister. I know you don't know me, but I wanted to call. To apologize. Clara sat down slowly. Apologize for what? For my family. For how they've treated you. For how they've treated Hope. I've watched it happen and I've stayed quiet because that's what we do in my family. We stay quiet. We protect the image. But what you did, standing up for yourself the way you did, it made me realize how wrong that is. I don't understand. Why are you calling me? Because Hope needs someone in this family who sees her. Really sees her. And I want to be that person. I wanted you to know that not all of us are like my mother. Some of us think you're right. About everything. Clara didn't know what to say. I know this doesn't change anything, Rachel continued. But I wanted you to know. And I wanted to thank you. For teaching Hope about dignity. God knows our family never did. Is Hope okay? Clara asked. I think she will be. She moved into her own place. Marcus is furious. Mother is horrified. But Hope seems lighter somehow. Like she's finally breathing after holding her breath for years. They talked for a few more minutes. Rachel gave Clara her number. If you ever need anything or if Hope does, call me. I mean it. After they hung up, Clara sat in the quiet of her house and marveled at how things had shifted. She'd set out to teach Hope a lesson about respect. About worth. About the cost of taking people for granted. But maybe she taught more than just Hope. Maybe she taught Marcus's sister something too. Maybe even Marcus himself, though she doubted he'd ever admit it. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was Lorraine. Clara, honey, have you seen it? Seen what? The news. Turn on Channel 7. Now. Clara grabbed the remote and switched on the TV. It took her a moment to find the right channel, and when she did, her breath caught. There was Hope. On the evening news. Sitting across from a reporter in what looked like a studio. Clara turned up the volume. So you're saying your mother was right to sell the house? The reporter was asking. Hope nodded. Her face was calm, composed. Absolutely. I betrayed her trust. I excluded her from the most important day of my life because I was ashamed of who I was. That's on me, not on her. And she had every right to take back what she'd given me. Some people are calling her actions cruel, saying a mother's love should be unconditional. Love is unconditional, Hope said firmly. But respect has to be earned. And I stopped respecting my mother the moment I decided she wasn't good enough for my new life. She taught me a hard lesson, yes. But it was a lesson I desperately needed to learn. The reporter leaned forward. What lesson was that? That you can't build a life on a foundation of shame. That pretending to be someone you're not will eventually destroy you. And that the people who loved you when you had nothing are worth more than all the people who only love you when you have everything. Clara pressed her hand to her mouth. Tears were streaming down her face. What about your marriage? The reporter asked. There are rumors that you and your husband are separated. Hope took a breath. Marcus and I are figuring things out. We're taking some time apart so I can remember who I am outside of his family's expectations. Whether our marriage survives that, I don't know yet. But I do know that I can't be the person I was becoming. I was losing myself. And my mother saw that before I did. Do you regret marrying him? I regret how I did it. I regret not including my mother. I regret letting his family convince me that I needed to be ashamed of where I came from. Hope looked directly at the camera. Mama, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. For all of it. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving to you that I understand now. That I'm the daughter you raised me to be. The segment ended. Clara sat there, staring at the TV through her tears. Her phone rang immediately. It was Hope. Did you see it? Hope's voice was breathless. I saw it. I should have asked you first. I should have warned you. But Mama, I needed to say it publicly. I needed everyone who saw your viral post to know that you were right. That what you did wasn't cruel. It was necessary. Clara's throat was too tight to speak. Mama? Are you there? I'm here, baby. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know that I'm done hiding. I'm done being ashamed. I'm done letting other people tell me who I should be. Hope's voice cracked. I'm ready to be your daughter again. The real me. If you'll still have me. Oh, Hope. Clara wiped at her eyes. I never stopped wanting you. I just needed you to want yourself first. They talked for over an hour. Really talked, in a way they hadn't in years. Hope told her about the apartment she'd rented. About the conversation she'd had with Marcus after she told him she needed space. About his anger and his confusion and his insistence that she was throwing away everything they'd built. What did you tell him? Clara asked. I told him we hadn't built anything real. We'd built a performance. A show for his family. And I was tired of performing. Hope laughed softly, but there was pain in it. He didn't understand. I don't think he's capable of understanding. His whole life has been about appearances and expectations. He doesn't know how to just be. Do you still love him? The question hung in the air for a long moment. I don't know, Hope finally said. I love who I thought he was. But I'm not sure that person actually exists. Or maybe I never really knew him because I was too busy trying to be who he wanted me to be. Then take your time. Figure yourself out first. The rest will follow. After they hung up, Clara made herself dinner and sat at her small kitchen table. She thought about everything that had happened over the past month. The betrayal. The anger. The viral post. The house sale. The confrontations. The slow, painful steps toward healing. It wasn't over. She knew that. Hope had a long road ahead of her. So did their relationship. Trust wasn't rebuilt in a day or a week or even a month. But it was a start. 3 days later, Clara was cleaning up after breakfast when someone knocked on her door. She looked through the peephole and saw a delivery person holding a large package. She opened the door. Can I help you? Delivery for Clara Bennett. Clara signed for the package and brought it inside. There was no return address, just her name written in elegant handwriting. She opened it carefully. Inside was a framed photograph. It took her a moment to recognize it because she'd never seen it before. It was from Hope's wedding day, but not one of the professional photos. This was a candid shot, taken by someone's phone probably. Hope was looking off to the side, away from the camera. And her expression wasn't the joyful bride from the official photos. She looked sad. lost. Like she was searching for something she couldn't find. Tucked into the frame was a note in Hope's handwriting. This is what I really looked like on my wedding day. Not happy, not fulfilled, just empty. Because the most important person in my life wasn't there. I had everything I thought I wanted, and it meant nothing without you. I'm sorry, Mama. I'll be sorry for the rest of my life. But I'm also grateful. Because you loved me enough to show me the truth. Love always, Hope. Clara held the frame against her chest and let herself cry. Not the angry tears from before. Not the hurt tears. These were different. These were tears of release. Of letting go. Of beginning to forgive. She hung the photograph on her wall. Not because she wanted to remember the wedding. But because she wanted to remember the lesson. That love without respect is hollow. That sacrifice without appreciation is meaningless. That sometimes the hardest thing you can do for someone you love is let them face the consequences of their choices. The weeks passed. Summer turned to fall. The trees started changing colors. Clara went back to work at the Harringtons. They were apologetic and generous with her pay. She didn't forgive them, not really, but she accepted their offer because she needed the income and because holding grudges took too much energy. She saw Hope regularly now. Once a week for dinner, sometimes more. They were rebuilding slowly, carefully, like people walking on ice that hadn't quite frozen solid yet. Hope was different now. Quieter. More thoughtful. She wore simpler clothes. Spent less time on social media. Started seeing a therapist to work through what she called her identity crisis. That's what it was, Hope told Clara over dinner one evening. A crisis of identity. I didn't know who I was supposed to be. The girl you raised? Or the woman Marcus's family wanted. So I tried to be both and ended up being neither. And now? Clara asked. Now I'm just trying to be me. Whoever that is. I'm still figuring it out. Marcus had called repeatedly at first. Angry calls. Pleading calls. Threatening calls. But Hope had held firm. She needed space. She needed time. If he couldn't give her that, then maybe their marriage was already over. Eventually, the calls stopped. Hope heard through Rachel that Marcus had told his family the separation was temporary. That Hope just needed to get this out of her system, and then things would go back to normal. Will they? Clara asked. Go back to normal? Hope shook her head. There is no normal to go back to. Whatever Marcus and I had, it was built on me pretending to be someone I'm not. If we're going to have a future, it has to be built on something real. And I don't know if he's capable of that. Clara reached across the table and squeezed her daughter's hand. You're stronger than you think, baby. You'll figure it out. I hope so. Hope squeezed back. But even if I don't, even if everything falls apart, at least I'll have myself back. And I'll have you. That's more than I had a few months ago. One evening in late October, Clara got an unexpected visitor. She heard a car pull up outside and looked out the window. A black Mercedes. For a moment, her stomach dropped, thinking it might be Marcus or Victoria coming to start another fight. But the person who stepped out was Rachel Castellano. Clara opened the door before Rachel could knock. Rachel, this is a surprise. I'm sorry to drop by unannounced. Do you have a few minutes? Of course. Come in. Rachel stepped inside and looked around Clara's small living room. Unlike her mother and brother, there was no judgment in her eyes. Just curiosity. Coffee? Clara offered. That would be lovely, thank you. They settled in the living room with their cups. Rachel seemed nervous, turning her coffee mug around and around in her hands. I'm not sure how to say this, Rachel finally began. So I'm just going to say it. I'm leaving. Leaving? The family business. The family expectations. All of it. I'm moving across the country. Starting over. Rachel looked up and met Clara's eyes. You inspired me. You and Hope both. Watching what happened with the house, seeing Hope stand up for herself, it made me realize I've been living someone else's life too. Clara was stunned. Rachel, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. I just wanted to thank you. And to tell you that not everyone in that family is lost. Some of us are trying to find our way out. What about your parents? Marcus? Rachel's expression hardened slightly. My mother is furious. She's accusing me of betraying the family. Marcus thinks I'm being dramatic. My father hasn't said much, but then he never does. He just lets mother run everything. She took a sip of coffee. But I can't keep living for them. I can't keep pretending I'm happy in a life I never chose. Where are you going? Seattle. I have a friend there who offered me a place to stay until I get on my feet. I'm going to figure out what I actually want to do with my life, not what my family expects me to do. Clara smiled. Good for you. Hope doesn't know yet. I wanted to tell you first. To thank you. You showed both of us that it's possible to stand up for yourself, even when it costs you everything. It did cost me, Clara said quietly. My relationship with my daughter. My job. My peace of mind. And I still don't know if it was worth it. It was worth it, Rachel said firmly. Hope is finding herself again. You can see it in her eyes. She's coming back to life. And that wouldn't have happened if you'd let her keep walking the path she was on. After Rachel left, Clara sat alone in the gathering darkness and thought about the ripples her decision had created. She'd set out to teach Hope a lesson, and somehow she'd ended up teaching others too. About worth. About dignity. About the courage it takes to demand respect, even from the people you love. Maybe especially from the people you love. November arrived with cold rain and gray skies. Clara was at home one Saturday afternoon, reading a book, when her phone rang. Marcus. Not Hope. Marcus. Clara almost didn't answer. But curiosity got the better of her. Hello, Mrs. Bennet. His voice was different than before. Less arrogant. More uncertain. I need to talk to you. Can I come by? Why? Because Hope won't talk to me. She won't see me. And I think you're the only person who might be able to help me understand what I did wrong. Clara wanted to say no. Wanted to tell him to figure it out himself. But something in his voice stopped her. Fine. Come by tomorrow. 2:00. Thank you. I'll be there. They hung up. Clara immediately called Hope. Marcus just called me, Clara said. He wants to come talk tomorrow. About what? About you. About what he did wrong. Should I see him? Hope was quiet for a moment. That's up to you, Mama. But if you do, maybe you can help him understand something I've been trying to explain for months. What's that? That love isn't about control. It's about acceptance. Marcus arrived exactly on time the next day. He looked different. Tired. His suit was rumpled. His hair wasn't perfectly styled. He looked, Clara thought, like a man who hadn't been sleeping well. Thank you for seeing me, he said as she let him in. They sat in the living room. Clara didn't offer coffee this time. This wasn't a social call. What do you want, Marcus? He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped together. I want to understand. Hope keeps saying I don't see her. That I never saw her. But I don't understand what that means. I gave her everything. A beautiful home. Nice clothes. Access to my family's world. What more could she want? Clara studied him for a long moment. He genuinely seemed confused. Like he couldn't comprehend that someone might want something other than money and status. Can I ask you something? Clara said. What's Hope's favorite color? Marcus blinked. What? Her favorite color. What is it? I don't know. Blue? Green? It's yellow. Has been since she was 6 years old. She loves it because it reminds her of sunshine. Of happy days. Marcus frowned. I don't see what that has to do with. What's her favorite food? Mrs. Bennet. Just answer the question. I don't know. She likes a lot of things. It's her grandmother's macaroni and cheese. The recipe that's been in my family for generations. She used to ask me to make it every time she had a bad day. Clara leaned forward. What does she do when she's stressed? Marcus shifted uncomfortably. I'm not sure. She cleans. Obsessively. Organizing things helps her feel like she has control when everything else is chaotic. What's her biggest fear? Mrs. Bennet, I don't understand what this has to do with. Answer the question, Marcus. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, quietly, I don't know. It's abandonment. Being left alone. It's why her family's judgment hurt her so much. Why she tried so hard to fit in. She was terrified that if she didn't measure up, you'd leave her. Just like her daddy left her when he died. Clara sat back. You don't know any of these things about your wife. You don't know who she really is. You know the version of her she presented to please you and your family. But you've never actually seen Hope. Marcus's jaw tightened. That's not fair. I love her. Do you? Or do you love the idea of her? The beautiful, accomplished wife who looks good on your arm and impresses your family. I asked her to marry me. I committed to her. You committed to the person you wanted her to be, not the person she actually is. Clara stood up and walked to the window. Hope grew up poor, Marcus. Not just working class. Poor. There were times when we didn't know how we'd pay rent. Times when I had to choose between fixing the car or buying groceries. She wore second-hand clothes. She worked part-time jobs all through high school. She knows what it's like to struggle. I know that. She told me about her background. Did you listen? Or did you just see it as something to overcome? Something to fix? Clara turned back to face him. Your family looked at her past like it was a stain. Something embarrassing. Something to be scrubbed away. And instead of defending her, instead of saying this is who my wife is and you need to respect that, you went along with it. You let them make her feel ashamed. I didn't think it mattered. Of course you didn't. Because you've never had to be ashamed of where you came from. You've never had to prove you deserve to exist in a certain space. You've never had someone look at you and decide you're not good enough based on something you can't control. Clara's voice was steady but firm. Hope deserves someone who celebrates all of her. Not just the polished parts. All of her. Including the parts that came from me. Marcus was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough. I do love her. I know you don't believe me, but I do. I don't know how to be different than I am. My family, our world, it has rules. Expectations. I was raised to value certain things. Then maybe you need to decide what matters more. Those expectations or your wife. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. It's exactly that simple. You can choose to see Hope for who she really is and love all of her, including the parts that don't fit your family's image. Or you can keep trying to mold her into what you think she should be. But if you choose the second option, you're going to lose her. Not because she doesn't love you, but because she loves herself too much now to go back to pretending. Marcus stood up. He looked lost, like a man who'd suddenly realized he'd been walking in the wrong direction for years. What should I do? He asked. That's not for me to tell you. But I will say this. If you want a real chance with Hope, you need to start by actually getting to know her. The real her. And you need to stand up to your family. Tell them that Hope is exactly who she's supposed to be, and if they can't accept that, that's their problem. My mother will never. Then choose, Marcus. Your mother or your wife. But you can't have both. Not as long as your mother thinks she has the right to dictate who Hope should be. Marcus walked to the door slowly. He turned back before leaving. Hope is lucky to have you, he said quietly. No. I'm lucky to have her. I just forgot that for a while. Don't make the same mistake I did. Don't wait until you've lost everything to realize what you had. He left without another word. Clara watched him drive away and wondered if he'd actually heard her. If he was capable of changing. She doubted it. But she hoped she was wrong. For Hope's sake. That evening, Hope called. Marcus came by to see me, she said. Just now. Did he? He said you told him some things. About me. Things he should have known but didn't. I did. Thank you. Hope's voice was soft. He asked me what my favorite color was. And when I told him, he cried. He actually cried, Mama. He said he'd been married to me for months and never thought to ask. Clara felt a small flicker of hope. That's something, at least. He said he wants to try again. To do it right this time. To actually get to know me. He wants to go to couples therapy. He wants to set boundaries with his family. Hope paused. I don't know if I believe him. I don't know if he can actually change. But maybe it's worth trying. Only you can decide that, baby. I know. And I'm not rushing into anything. I'm keeping my apartment. Keeping my space. But Mama, what if he really does change? What if this whole thing actually taught him something? Then you'll have a real marriage. Built on honesty and respect and actual knowledge of who each other is. That's worth fighting for. And if he can't change, then you'll know you tried. And you'll move forward. Either way, you'll be okay. Because you know who you are now. Nobody can take that from you. They talked for another hour. About Marcus. About therapy. About the future, which suddenly seemed less frightening than it had a month ago. After they hung up, Clara sat in her small living room and felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Not because everything was fixed. It wasn't. Hope and Marcus had a long road ahead of them. Hope and Clara had healing still to do. There were no guarantees about how any of it would turn out. But for the first time in months, Clara felt like maybe everything would be okay. Maybe the hardest thing she'd ever done, selling that house, drawing that line, demanding respect, had been exactly what everyone needed. 2 weeks later, Clara was surprised by a knock on her door early on a Sunday morning. She wasn't expecting anyone. She opened the door to find Hope standing there with 2 coffee cups and a bag from the bakery down the street. "I brought breakfast," Hope said, smiling. "Can I come in?" "Of course." They settled at the kitchen table with coffee and pastries. It felt like old times. Before Marcus. Before the distance. Just mother and daughter sharing a meal. "I have something to tell you," Hope said. "Marcus and I started therapy. Both individual and couples. And Mama, it's hard. Really hard. We're dealing with stuff I didn't even realize was there." "That's good though. Right?" "Yeah, it is. He's actually trying. He told his mother that I wouldn't be attending family events until she could treat me with basic respect. She was furious. Said he was choosing wrong. He told her no, he was choosing right. For the first time. Clara felt tears prick at her eyes. "Hope, that's wonderful." "It is. And it isn't. Because now I have to figure out if I can actually trust him again. If I can believe that this change is real and permanent, not just temporary until things blow over." Hope wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. "My therapist asked me an interesting question. She asked what I would tell you if you were in my situation. If you were married to someone who'd let his family treat you badly and you were trying to decide whether to give him another chance. What did you say?" "I said I'd tell you to protect yourself. To set clear boundaries. To demand actions, not just words. To remember your worth." Hope smiled through tears. "I realized I was giving you advice I needed to take myself. You're doing it now, though. You're protecting yourself. You're setting boundaries." "I'm trying. It's scary, Mama. What if I lose him? What if standing up for myself means losing my marriage?" Clara reached across the table and took Hope's hand. "Then you lose someone who wasn't right for you. And that's sad, and it hurts, but it's not the end of the world. You know what would be worse? Spending the rest of your life pretending to be someone you're not. Losing yourself to keep someone else. When did you get so wise? When I had to choose between keeping you comfortable and teaching you to value yourself. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. But I'd do it again." Hope squeezed her mother's hand. "I know. And I'm grateful. Even though it hurt. Even though I hated you for a little while. I'm grateful." They finished their breakfast and talked about easier things. Work. The weather. A funny story about Hope's new neighbor. Normal things. Mother-daughter things. As Hope was leaving, she turned back at the door. "Mama? I have a favor to ask." "What is it?" "Marcus and I are renewing our vows. In a few months, if therapy keeps going well. If we both decide we want to stay married. And this time I want you there. Front row. In whatever you want to wear. Being exactly who you are. Will you come?" Clara felt tears spill over. "Of course I'll come, baby. Of course." They hugged tight and Clara felt the last piece of her broken heart click back into place. Not healed. Not completely. But getting there. 3 months passed like pages turning in a book Clara couldn't put down. Winter settled over the city with a gentle persistence. Snow came and went. The holidays arrived and departed. And through it all, Clara watched her daughter transform. Hope came by every Sunday now. Sometimes with groceries to cook dinner together. Sometimes just to talk. Sometimes to sit in comfortable silence while they both read books or watched old movies. The easy intimacy they'd lost was slowly, carefully being rebuilt. But it wasn't the same as before. It was better. Because now it was built on honesty instead of assumptions. On respect instead of obligation. Hope was different too. Lighter somehow. She laughed more. Wore less makeup. Started talking about going back to school, maybe getting a degree in something she actually cared about instead of something that looked good on paper. I'm thinking about art therapy, she told Clara one Sunday afternoon. They were making her grandmother's macaroni and cheese together, the recipe Hope had loved since childhood. Art therapy? Clara asked, stirring the cheese sauce. Yeah, helping people process their emotions through creativity. My therapist uses some of those techniques with me and they've really helped. I think I might be good at it. You would be. You always loved to draw when you were little. I did. Hope smiled at the memory. I'd forgotten that. I'd forgotten a lot of things about who I used to be. And Marcus? How's he doing with all the changes? Hope's expression became more complicated. He's trying. Really trying. He's in therapy twice a week. He's reading books about emotional intelligence and healthy relationships. He even started journaling. She laughed softly. Marcus Castellano, CEO, writing in a journal about his feelings. His mother would die if she knew. How is Victoria handling all this? Not well. She keeps calling, demanding that I come to family dinners. That I stop this nonsense and remember my place. Marcus finally told her that if she couldn't respect me, we wouldn't be attending any family functions. She hung up on him. They haven't spoken in 2 weeks. Clara added pasta to the boiling water. How does Marcus feel about that? Guilty. Conflicted. But also relieved, I think. He told me he's never stood up to her before. Never told her no. It's like he's figuring out how to be his own person for the first time in his life. Hope started grating cheese. His sister Rachel called me. Did I tell you that? No. She's in Seattle now. She sounds happy. Free. She said to thank you for showing her it was possible to walk away from a life that doesn't fit. Clara felt a warm glow in her chest. She's a brave woman. So are you, Mama. So am I. We're all just trying to be brave. They finished cooking and sat down to eat. The macaroni and cheese was perfect, exactly the way Clara's mother had taught her to make it. Rich and creamy and comforting. The kind of food that tasted like home. I have something to tell you, Hope said after a few bites. Marcus and I set a date. For the vow renewal. Clara set down her fork. When? April 15th. Spring. New beginnings and all that. Hope smiled nervously. It's going to be small. Really small this time. Just the people who actually matter. You. His sister Rachel, who's flying back for it. A few of our close friends. Pastor Green, if he's willing to officiate. What about Marcus's parents? They're invited. But only if Victoria agrees to certain conditions. She has to meet with me and apologize for how she's treated both of us. She has to commit to respecting our boundaries. And she has to accept that I'm not going to change who I am to please her. Do you think she'll do it? Hope shrugged. Honestly? I don't know. Part of me hopes she will. She's still Marcus's mother, and I know he wants her there. But if she can't meet those conditions, then no. She doesn't come. We're done letting her control our lives. Clara reached across the table and squeezed Hope's hand. I'm proud of you, baby. You've come so far. I'm proud of me too. Hope's eyes filled with tears. And I'm sorry, Mama. I know I've apologized before, but I need you to really hear this. I'm sorry for everything. For the wedding. For pushing you away. For making you feel like you didn't matter. For being so caught up in trying to be someone else that I forgot to be your daughter. I know, Hope. I forgive you. Do you? Really? Because I don't know if I could forgive me if I were you. Clara thought about it. About the hurt and the anger and the betrayal. About the house and the viral post and all the pain that had come from drawing that line. Yes, she said finally. I really do forgive you. Because you've shown me that you understand. Not just with words, but with actions. You've done the hard work of figuring out who you are. You've set boundaries. You've chosen authenticity over acceptance. That's all I ever wanted for you. They both cried then. Good tears this time. Healing tears. After dinner, they washed dishes together and talked about the vow renewal. Hope wanted something simple. Meaningful. Nothing like the elaborate wedding that had started all this mess. I'm thinking the ceremony in Pastor Green's church, Hope said. Then maybe a small reception at that little restaurant downtown. The one with the patio. That sounds perfect. And Mama? I want you to walk me down the aisle. I know that's usually a father's role, but you're the one who raised me. You're the one who made me who I am. It should be you. Clara felt her throat tighten. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. The next few weeks passed in a flurry of quiet preparation. Hope and Clara went dress shopping together. Nothing fancy this time. Hope chose a simple cream-colored dress that was elegant but understated. This feels right, Hope said, looking at herself in the mirror. This feels like me. Clara stood behind her, and they looked at their reflections together. Mother and daughter. Finally on the same side again. But not everything was smooth sailing. 2 weeks before the vow renewal, Clara got a phone call. Victoria Castellano. Mrs. Bennet, we need to meet. Clara's first instinct was to say no. But something in Victoria's voice stopped her. It wasn't the cold, commanding tone from before. It was something else. Something that almost sounded like desperation. Why? Clara asked. Because I'm losing my son. And apparently, it's my fault. They agreed to meet at a neutral location. A small cafe that neither of them had been to before. Clara arrived first and waited, her coffee growing cold as the minutes ticked by. Victoria arrived exactly on time. She looked different than before. Her perfect composure was cracking. Her makeup couldn't quite hide the dark circles under her eyes. She looked, Clara realized, like a woman who hadn't been sleeping well. Thank you for coming, Victoria said as she sat down. I'm here. Now talk. Victoria ordered coffee from the hovering waiter, then waited until he left before speaking. Marcus came to see me yesterday. He told me that if I don't apologize to Hope and commit to respecting your family, I won't be welcome at the vow renewal. He said I've driven away one child already, Rachel, and he won't let me drive him away too. Good for him. Is it? Victoria's voice had an edge. Is it good that my family is falling apart? That my daughter won't speak to me? That my son is choosing his wife over his own mother? If that's how you see it, then yes. It is good. Victoria's composure cracked further. You don't understand. I raised my children to be successful, to be respectable, to uphold certain standards. I did everything right. Did you? Clara leaned forward. Or did you teach them that love is conditional? That acceptance comes with requirements? That who they are isn't good enough unless it meets your standards? I taught them to have standards. You taught them to be ashamed of anything that doesn't fit your narrow definition of acceptable. Clara's voice was steady but firm. You looked at Hope and saw someone who needed to be fixed. Someone who needed to hide her background and pretend to be something she's not. You never once celebrated her for who she actually is. You only acknowledged her when she successfully pretended to be someone else. That's not true, isn't it? Tell me one thing you know about Hope. The real Hope. Not the polished version. The real woman your son married. Victoria was quiet. You can't, can you? Because you've never actually tried to know her. You've only tried to mold her. Victoria's hands shook as she lifted her coffee cup. I come from a world with rules, Mrs. Bennet. Expectations. My mother raised me the same way. Appearance matters. Reputation matters. The family name matters. And what about the actual family? Do they matter? Or just the name? Of course they matter. Then prove it. Prove that your children matter more than your image. Prove that your son's happiness is more important than your pride. Victoria set down her cup. You think I don't love my children? I think you love the idea of them. The version of them that makes you look good. But do you love them enough to let them be themselves? Even if that version doesn't fit your standards. Victoria was quiet for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. More vulnerable than Clara had ever heard it. I don't know how to be different than I am. Then learn. If your children matter to you, learn. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. Clara stood up. You can either hold on to your pride and lose your family, or you can swallow that pride, apologize for the hurt you've caused, and try to build something real with the people who are supposed to matter most. Those are your options, Victoria. Choose. Clara walked out of the cafe without looking back. She'd said what needed to be said. What Victoria did with it was up to her. 1 week before the vow renewal, Hope called Clara in tears. Marcus's mother called. She wants to meet with me. To apologize. Are you going to see her? I don't know. What if it's just another manipulation? What if she's just saying what Marcus wants to hear? Then you'll know. And you'll handle it. You're not the same woman who got married the first time, Hope. You know who you are now. She can't take that from you. Hope took a shaky breath. Will you come with me? To the meeting. If you want me there, I'll be there. I want you there. They met Victoria the next day at her home. Clara had never been to the Castellano estate before. It was massive, intimidating, everything Clara had imagined. The kind of place that was designed to make people feel small. But Clara didn't feel small. And neither, she noticed, did Hope. They were shown into a formal living room. Everything was white and gold and pristine. Clara was almost afraid to sit on the furniture. Victoria entered a few minutes later. She looked different. Less armored. She wore simple clothes, no jewelry except her wedding ring. Her hair was pulled back in a plain ponytail. She looked, Clara realized, like a woman who was trying. Hope. Mrs. Bennet. Thank you for coming. Victoria sat down across from them. Her hands were folded in her lap, and Clara could see them trembling slightly. You said you wanted to apologize, Hope said. Her voice was steady. Strong. I do. This isn't easy for me. I'm not accustomed to admitting when I'm wrong. Victoria took a breath. But I was wrong. About you. About how I treated you. About the expectations I placed on you. Go on, Hope said. I looked at you and saw someone who needed to be improved. Someone who needed to be taught how to fit into our world. I never stopped to consider that maybe our world needed to change. That maybe you were fine exactly as you were. Victoria's voice cracked slightly. I did the same thing to Rachel. I pushed and pushed until she couldn't take it anymore and left. And now I'm watching the same thing happen with Marcus. He's pulling away. He barely speaks to me. And it's because of how I treated you. This isn't about Marcus, Hope said firmly. This is about me. About how you made me feel. About the judgment and the criticism and the constant message that I wasn't good enough. I know. And I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry. Victoria looked at Clara. And Mrs. Bennet, I owe you an apology as well. I judged you without knowing you. I treated you like you were beneath us. I tried to erase you from Hope's life because I was afraid of what your presence said about our family. That was wrong. Cruel. And I'm sorry. Clara studied Victoria carefully, looking for signs of insincerity. But all she saw was a woman who looked genuinely broken. Do you understand why what you did was hurtful? Clara asked. Not just wrong, but why it hurt. I think so. You worked your entire life to give Hope opportunities. You sacrificed everything for her. And I treated that like it was something shameful. Something to be hidden. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. If someone had treated Marcus that way, if someone had looked at all I'd done for him and acted like it was embarrassing, I would have been devastated. But I did that to you. And I'm sorry. And Hope. Clara pressed. Do you understand why what you did to her was wrong? I tried to change her. I tried to make her into someone she's not. I didn't celebrate her. I didn't support her. I just criticized and corrected and made her feel like she had to earn my approval. Victoria looked at Hope. You are Marcus's choice. His partner. His wife. And I should have welcomed you with open arms. Instead, I made you feel like you had to prove yourself worthy. That was wrong. Hope was crying now. Do you mean it? Or are you just saying what you think I want to hear? I mean it. I've spent the last 2 weeks in therapy, working through why I behave the way I do. Why I'm so controlling. So focused on appearances. And the truth is, I'm scared. I'm scared of being judged. Of not measuring up. So I've spent my whole life trying to control everything and everyone around me to maintain this perfect image. Victoria wiped at her eyes. But I've lost so much in the process. My daughter doesn't speak to me. My son barely tolerates me. And you, Hope, you are pulling away too. If I keep going like this, I'll end up alone. And I'll deserve it. The room was silent except for the sound of quiet crying. Clara watched Hope, saw the war playing out on her daughter's face. The desire to believe. The fear of being hurt again. The hope that maybe, finally, things could be different. I need to see change, Hope finally said. Not just words. Actions. Real, sustained change. I know. And I'm committed to that. I've started therapy. I'm working on my control issues. And I'm prepared to set boundaries with myself about how I interact with you and Marcus. No more criticism about your clothes or your career or your choices. No more judgment about your background or your family. Victoria looked at Clara. Mrs. Bennet is welcome in our home anytime, at any family function. And anyone who has a problem with that can leave. What about your husband? Clara asked. Does he agree with all this? Richard has always been more accepting than I have. He likes Hope. He respects you. He's told me many times that I need to back off. I didn't listen. But I'm listening now. Hope took a shaky breath. Okay, I'm willing to try. But Victoria, if you slip back into old patterns, if you start criticizing or controlling again, I'm done. No more chances. Do you understand? I understand. And thank you for giving me this chance. I don't deserve it, but I'm grateful for it. Victoria stood up. The vow renewal is in a week. I'd like to be there. If you'll have me. Hope looked at Clara, who gave a small nod. You can come, Hope said. But you sit in the back. And if you say or do anything that makes me or my mother uncomfortable, you leave. Deal? Deal. After they left the Castellano estate, Hope turned to Clara in the car. Did I do the right thing? Giving her another chance. Clara thought about it. I don't know. But I know you did what felt right to you. And that's what matters. You're not doing this to please anyone else. You're doing it because you want to. What if she doesn't change? Then you'll handle it. You're strong enough now. Hope leaned her head against the window and watched the city pass by. I hope so, Mama. I really hope so. The week before the vow renewal passed in a blur of final preparations. The weather cooperated, bringing early spring sunshine and the first hints of flowers. Pastor Green agreed to officiate the ceremony. He was an older man who had known Hope since she was a child. When Clara called to ask him, his first words were, "It's about time that girl came to her senses." The small restaurant downtown confirmed the reservation for the reception. 20 people. Simple food. No frills. Hope seemed calm. Happier than Clara had seen her in years. She and Marcus were spending more time together, rebuilding their relationship from the ground up. It's like dating again, Hope told Clara. We're actually getting to know each other. The real versions of ourselves. It's scary and wonderful and completely different from before. That's how it should be, Clara said. 2 days before the ceremony, Marcus came to visit Clara. Alone. She opened the door to find him standing there with a bouquet of yellow flowers. Hope's favorite color. These are for you, he said. As a thank you. And an apology. Clara took the flowers. Come in. They sat in the living room. Marcus looked nervous, fidgeting with his hands. I wanted to thank you, he started. For what you did. With the house. At the time, I thought you were being cruel. Vindictive. But now I understand. You were teaching Hope something she needed to learn. And you were teaching me too. What did you learn? That love isn't about control. It's not about molding someone into who you want them to be. It's about accepting them as they are and celebrating that. I was so busy trying to make Hope fit into my world that I never stopped to appreciate her world. Where she came from. What shaped her. You. He met Clara's eyes. You raised an incredible woman. Strong and smart and compassionate. And I almost lost her because I was too blind to see it. Clara felt tears prick at her eyes. Do you see it now? Every day. She's teaching me what real love looks like. What real partnership means. And I'm grateful for it, even though the process has been painful. Good. Because if you hurt her again, if you let your family or anyone else make her feel less than, I will make selling that house look like a kindness. Do you understand me? Marcus smiled slightly. Yes, ma'am. I understand. And Marcus? Hope is thinking about going back to school. For art therapy. I assume you'll support that. Absolutely. Whatever she wants to do, I'll support it. Even if it means she makes less money than me. Even if my mother has opinions about it. Hope's happiness is more important than any of that. Good answer. Marcus stood to leave, then turned back. Mrs. Bennet? I know I don't have the right to ask this. But I'm going to anyway. After the ceremony, when everyone's there, would you say a few words? About Hope? About what real love looks like? I think. I think everyone there needs to hear it. Especially my mother. Clara thought about it. I'll think about it. After he left, Clara sat with the yellow flowers and thought about how much had changed in 6 months. How a single moment, seeing that wedding photo on Instagram, had set off a chain of events that had broken everything and rebuilt it stronger. She thought about writing a speech. About what she'd say if she agreed to Marcus's request. And slowly, the words began to form. The morning of the vow renewal dawned bright and clear. Perfect spring weather. The kind of day that felt like a new beginning. Clara wore her best dress. The navy blue one she'd worn to Hope's college graduation. It felt right somehow. A callback to a happier time. Hope came by early to get ready at Clara's house. They did each other's hair and makeup, laughing and talking like they used to. Like the lost years had never happened. I'm nervous, Hope admitted as Clara zipped up her cream-colored dress. That's normal. What if I'm making a mistake? What if Marcus can't really change? What if his family goes back to their old ways? Clara turned Hope to face her. Then you deal with it. But Hope, you're not the same woman who got married the first time. You know who you are now. You know your worth. Nobody can take that from you. Not Marcus. Not his family. Nobody. Hope hugged her tight. Thank you, Mama. For everything. For the tough love. For not giving up on me. For teaching me what I needed to learn. I'd do it all again, baby. Every painful moment. Because look at you now. You're exactly who you're supposed to be. They drove to the church together. It was small and intimate, exactly what Hope had wanted. Pastor Green was waiting at the door, smiling broadly. There's my girl, he said, pulling Hope into a hug. You look beautiful. And you look like yourself. That's the most important thing. The guests started arriving. Ashley and some of Hope's old friends. A few of Marcus's colleagues who'd become genuine friends. Rachel, who'd flown in from Seattle and looked happier than Clara had ever seen her. And Victoria and Richard Castellano. They sat in the back as promised. Victoria looked nervous, but she smiled at Hope. A genuine smile. Marcus was already at the altar, looking more nervous than Clara had ever seen him. But when Hope entered the church with Clara's arm linked through hers, his face transformed. Pure love. Pure awe. They walked down the aisle together. Mother and daughter. And when they reached the altar, Clara kissed Hope's cheek and placed her hand in Marcus's. Take care of her, Clara whispered. Or answer to me. Yes, ma'am, Marcus whispered back, smiling. The ceremony was simple and beautiful. Pastor Green spoke about second chances. About the courage it takes to admit you were wrong and start again. About building relationships on truth instead of pretense. When it came time for the vows, Hope and Marcus faced each other. I promise to see you, Marcus said, his voice steady and clear. The real you. Not who I want you to be, but who you actually are. I promise to celebrate where you came from and the woman it made you. I promise to stand up for you, even when it's hard. Even when it means standing up to my own family. I promise to choose you every day over pride or appearances or expectations. I promise to love you completely. The good parts and the messy parts and everything in between. Hope was crying, but she smiled through her tears. I promise to be myself. To stop pretending. To stop trying to fit into molds that don't fit. I promise to tell you the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. I promise to remember my worth and to never sacrifice who I am for acceptance. And I promise to love you for who you are, while also holding you accountable to be better. We're going to grow together, or we're not going to grow at all. Pastor Green smiled. By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you, once again, husband and wife. Marcus, you may kiss your bride. They kissed, and everyone applauded. But Clara noticed that the applause from the back row was the loudest. Victoria was crying, clapping with everyone else. The reception at the small restaurant was warm and joyful. Good food. Good company. Real laughter. During dinner, Marcus stood up with the microphone. I want to thank everyone for being here today. For supporting Hope and me as we start again, the right way this time. He looked at Clara. Mrs. Bennet, would you be willing to say a few words? Clara hadn't decided whether she would. But looking around the room at all the faces, Hope's, Marcus's, even Victoria's, she knew what she needed to say. She stood up, and the room went quiet. 6 months ago, Clara began, I found out my daughter got married and I wasn't there. I found out on Instagram. And I was devastated. Angry. Hurt. I felt like I'd given everything to raise her, and she'd thrown it all away to be accepted by people who didn't actually know her. She saw Victoria wince, but she continued. So I sold the house I'd bought for her. I took back the gift I'd given. And a lot of people thought I was being cruel. Maybe I was. But I wasn't trying to hurt Hope. I was trying to wake her up. To remind her that love without respect is meaningless. That family means showing up for each other. That you can't build a life on pretending to be someone you're not. Clara looked at Hope, who was crying. What I didn't expect was that everyone else would wake up too. Hope woke up and remembered who she was. Marcus woke up and realized he didn't actually know his wife. Rachel woke up and left a life that was suffocating her. And Victoria. Clara looked at Marcus's mother. Victoria woke up and realized she was losing her family by trying to control them. Victoria was crying now too. I'm not going to stand here and say everything's perfect. It's not. Hope and Marcus have hard work ahead of them. Hope and I are still rebuilding trust. Victoria is still learning how to let go of control. But here's what I know. Real love isn't pretty. It's not Instagram perfect or magazine ready. Real love is messy and complicated, and sometimes it means making hard choices that hurt in the moment but help in the long run. Clara raised her glass. So here's to second chances. Here's to doing the hard work of being real with each other. Here's to families that are built on truth instead of pretense. And here's to my daughter, who is brave enough to start over and strong enough to be herself. I'm proud of you, Hope. I'm so incredibly proud of you. Everyone raised their glasses. Hope stood up and came to Clara, wrapping her in a tight hug. I love you, Mama, she whispered. I love you too, baby. After the toast, people mingled and talked. Clara found herself standing next to Victoria on the patio. That was a powerful speech, Victoria said quietly. It was the truth. I know. And I deserve to hear it. Victoria looked out at the party. Rachel looks happy. She does. I lost her. I know that. She's not coming back to the family business. She's not coming back to the life I wanted for her. No. She's building her own life. And Marcus, he's different now too. Stronger. More independent. I'm losing him in a way too. Clara looked at Victoria. You're not losing them. You're just losing control of them. There's a difference. If you can learn to love them without trying to control them, you might actually get them back. Just in a different way. Victoria nodded slowly. I'm trying. It's hard. But I'm trying. That's all anyone can ask. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching Hope and Marcus dance. They looked happy. Real. Like two people who actually knew each other and chose each other anyway. Thank you, Victoria said suddenly. For what? For not giving up on her. On any of them. You could have walked away. You could have let Hope keep living a lie. But you didn't. You loved her enough to let her be angry with you. That takes courage. Clara smiled. Motherhood has always required courage. I just forgot that for a while. As the evening wound down and guests started leaving, Hope pulled Clara aside. Come with me. I have something to show you. She led Clara to a quiet corner where several wrapped packages sat on a table. What's this? Clara asked. Gifts. From all the people whose lives you touched with your post. With your story. People wanted to thank you. Clara opened the packages one by one. Letters from mothers and daughters who'd been estranged and reconnected. Donations to a scholarship fund set up in Clara's name for working-class students. Artwork from people inspired by her courage. But the last package was different. It was from Hope. Clara unwrapped it carefully. Inside was a photograph in a beautiful frame. It was the mural Hope had painted in the house before it sold. The tree with deep roots and spreading branches. The words on each branch. Sacrifice. Strength. Love. Dignity. Worth. Courage. And at the bottom, thank you, Mama. I took a picture before we left, Hope said. So you'd always have it. To remember what you taught me. What you taught all of us. Clara hugged the frame to her chest. It's perfect. You're perfect, Mama. Well, not perfect. But perfect for me. You're exactly the mother I needed, even when I didn't know it. They stood together, looking out at the party. At Marcus, who was talking to Rachel about her new life in Seattle. At Victoria and Richard, who were actually smiling and relaxed for once. At all the people who'd come to celebrate a second chance, a new beginning. Did we do it? Hope asked quietly. Did we actually figure it out? We're figuring it out, Clara corrected. It's not done. It's never done. Relationships are constant work. But yes, baby. We're doing it. We're building something real. 3 months later, Clara was at home when she got a call from Hope. Mama, I got in. Got in where? Graduate school. For art therapy. I start in the fall. Clara felt tears of joy spring to her eyes. Oh, Hope. That's wonderful. I couldn't have done it without you. Without you teaching me that it's okay to want something for myself. To pursue my own dreams instead of living up to someone else's expectations. I'm so proud of you. And Mama? Marcus is proud too. He helped me with my application essay. He's excited for me. He's actually excited that I'm doing something for me. That's how it should be. I know. And it took almost losing everything to figure that out. But we got there. We're getting there. After they hung up, Clara sat in her small living room and thought about the journey of the past year. The pain, the anger, the hard choices, the slow, painful work of rebuilding. Was it worth it? Selling the house? Drawing that line? Risking everything? Clara looked at the framed photograph of Hope's mural. At the words painted on those branches. Yes, it was worth it. Because sometimes love means making hard choices. Sometimes it means letting people be angry with you. Sometimes it means taking away something precious to teach a lesson that's even more precious. Sometimes love means demanding respect, even when it's easier to accept crumbs. And sometimes, if you're lucky, the people you love will learn the lesson. They'll grow. They'll change. They'll remember who they are and who you are and why you matter. Clara's phone buzzed. A text from Hope. Sunday dinner at my place? I'm making Grandma's macaroni and cheese. And yes, I remember the recipe. Clara smiled and typed back, I'll be there. Sunday came with golden afternoon light and the smell of summer just beginning. Clara drove to Hope's apartment, the one she'd rented when she moved out of the house, the one she was still living in even though Marcus kept offering to buy them something bigger. I like it here, Hope had told her. It's mine. I chose it. That matters. Clara knocked on the door. Hope opened it, wearing an apron that said Kitchen Witch and had a smudge of flour on her cheek. You're early, Hope said, laughing. I couldn't wait. Inside, the apartment smelled like home. Like cheese and butter and love. Marcus was there, setting the table. He smiled when he saw Clara. Mrs. Bennet. Good to see you. Call me Clara. We're family now. They ate dinner together, the three of them. Laughing and talking about Hope's upcoming classes. About Marcus's new business venture that didn't involve his family's company. About the small, ordinary things that make up a life. After dinner, as they were cleaning up, Hope turned to Clara. I've been thinking about something. About the house. Clara's hands stilled in the soapy water. What about it? I drove by it last week. The new owners, Jen and her husband, they've done beautiful work on it. New paint. New landscaping. It looks happy there. That's good. And Mama? I'm glad you sold it. I know that sounds strange, but I am. Because keeping it would have meant keeping the lie. And I don't want that. I want the truth. Even when it's hard. Even when it costs me something. Clara turned to look at her daughter. You've learned well. I had a good teacher. They finished the dishes together. And as Clara was getting ready to leave, Hope stopped her at the door. Mama? Thank you. For what, baby? For loving me enough to let me be angry with you. For standing your ground. For teaching me what I needed to learn instead of what I wanted to hear. For being the kind of mother who fights for her daughter, even when that means fighting against her. Clara cupped Hope's face in her hands. You're my daughter. I'll always fight for you. Even when you don't know you need it. Even when it costs me everything. That's what mothers do. They hugged tight, and Clara felt the last piece of her heart heal completely. Not because everything was perfect, but because it was real. And real, Clara had learned, was always better than perfect. As Clara drove home through the evening streets, she thought about everything that had brought them to this moment. The Instagram post that had shattered her world. The house that had become a symbol of both love and betrayal. The hard conversations and harder choices. She thought about the woman she'd been a year ago. Exhausted. Taken for granted. Invisible in her own daughter's life. And she thought about the woman she was now. Still working hard. Still tired sometimes. But no longer invisible. No longer willing to accept less than she deserved. Her phone rang as she pulled into her driveway. An unknown number. Hello, Mrs. Bennett? This is Jen Martinez. My husband and I bought your daughter's house. Clara's heart skipped. Is everything all right? Is there a problem with the house? Oh no, nothing like that. The house is wonderful. We love it. I'm calling because, well, we found something. When we were painting the back bedroom, we found a mural. A tree with words on it. It's beautiful. Clara smiled, remembering. Hope painted that. Before you moved in. We almost painted over it. But then I looked up your story online. The viral post. The whole situation with your daughter. And Mrs. Bennett, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank me? For what? For showing me that it's okay to stand up for yourself. I've been in a similar situation with my own mother-in-law. Nothing as dramatic as yours, but she's been slowly erasing my input from our lives. Making me feel like I'm not good enough. And seeing what you did, how you demanded respect, it gave me courage to set my own boundaries. Clara felt warmth spread through her chest. I'm glad I could help. We're keeping the mural, by the way. We built a frame around it. Made it a feature wall. Every time I look at it, I remember that I deserve to be respected. That love and respect go together. So thank you for your courage. It helped more people than just your daughter. After they hung up, Clara sat in her car for a long moment. She thought about all the messages she'd received over the past year. The emails. The letters. The social media comments. Thousands of people sharing their own stories of standing up for themselves. Of demanding respect. Of remembering their worth. She'd never meant to start a movement. She'd just been a hurt mother trying to teach her daughter a lesson. But maybe that was how change always happened. One person standing up. One hard choice. One moment of courage that rippled outward, touching lives in ways you could never predict. 2 weeks later, Clara was surprised by a knock on her door on a Tuesday afternoon. She opened it to find Victoria Castellano standing there with a small package. Victoria. This is unexpected. I hope I'm not intruding. I was in the neighborhood and I wanted to drop this off. Victoria held out the package. It's nothing much. Just something I thought you might like. Clara invited her in, curious now. They sat in the living room, and Clara opened the package carefully. Inside was a leather-bound journal. Expensive, beautiful. And on the first page, in Victoria's elegant handwriting, was a note. To Clara, thank you for teaching me what real strength looks like. I'm using this journal in therapy to work through my control issues. My therapist suggested I give one to someone who inspires me. You were the first person I thought of. With gratitude and respect, Victoria. Clara looked up, surprised to see tears in Victoria's eyes. I've been thinking about what you said, Victoria began. About losing my children by trying to control them. You were right. I was so focused on maintaining this perfect image that I forgot to actually love the people in the image. And now I'm trying to do better. It's hard. Every instinct tells me to critique and correct and control. But I'm learning to bite my tongue. To ask questions instead of giving orders. To listen instead of dictate. Victoria twisted her hands together. Marcus and I had lunch yesterday. We talked for 3 hours. Really talked. Do you know what he told me? What? He said that for the first time in his life, he feels like I actually see him. The real him. Not the version I wanted him to be. He said he's starting to understand why Rachel left. And he said he's grateful to you for teaching Hope to stand up for herself, because it taught him to do the same. Clara felt her throat tighten. That's wonderful, Victoria. Is it? I've spent my whole life building this family according to my specifications. And it turns out the family I built was hollow. Empty. A performance. Victoria wiped at her eyes. I don't want that anymore. I want real relationships. Even if they're messy. Even if they don't look perfect from the outside. That takes courage. I'm learning about courage from you. From Hope. From Rachel, who had the strength to walk away when she needed to. Victoria stood to leave. I should go. I just wanted you to know that I'm working on being better. And I wanted to say thank you for not letting me continue to destroy my family. After Victoria left, Clara sat with the journal in her lap. She opened it to a blank page and began to write. A year ago, I found out my daughter got married without telling me. It was the worst moment of my life. And also, somehow, the beginning of the best thing that ever happened to us. She wrote for hours. About the pain and the healing. About the hard choices and the beautiful outcomes. About learning to stand up for herself even when it meant standing against the person she loved most. When she finished, she had pages and pages of words. Her story. Their story. A testament to the power of demanding respect and the courage it takes to fight for authentic love. The seasons changed. Summer faded into autumn. Hope started her graduate program and thrived. Marcus launched his new business venture, separate from his family's empire, and found joy in building something of his own. Rachel came to visit from Seattle for Thanksgiving. The whole family gathered at Hope and Marcus's apartment. Clara, Rachel, Victoria, and Richard. Even Ashley and some of Hope's old friends. It was crowded and loud and slightly chaotic. The turkey was a little dry. The mashed potatoes were lumpy. Nothing was perfect. But it was real. And it was beautiful. Clara sat at the table, looking around at all the faces. Hope, glowing with happiness and purpose. Marcus, more relaxed than Clara had ever seen him. Victoria, trying hard to hold her tongue when she had opinions about the cooking. Rachel, free and laughing. Richard, content to let the chaos wash over him. Speech, someone called out. Everyone turned to look at Clara. She stood up, glass in hand. I'm not sure I have much to say that I haven't already said. But I'll try. She paused, gathering her thoughts. A year ago, I was angry. Hurt. Betrayed. I made a hard choice, and a lot of people thought I was wrong. Maybe I was. But that choice led us here. To this table. To this family. Not perfect, but real. She looked at Hope. You taught me something this year, baby. You taught me that healing isn't about forgetting the hurt. It's about moving through it. You taught me that forgiveness doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. It means choosing to build something new from the broken pieces. She looked at Marcus. You surprised me. I didn't think you could change. But you did. You're still learning, but you're trying. That's all anyone can ask. She looked at Victoria. You surprised me too. It takes courage to admit when you're wrong. To change patterns that have been ingrained for a lifetime. Keep doing the work. Your family needs the real you, not the perfect image. She looked at Rachel. You were brave to leave. To choose yourself. Never regret that choice. Clara raised her glass higher. Here's to broken things that heal stronger. Here's to families that are built on truth instead of appearances. Here's to second chances and hard-won lessons. Here's to all of us, doing the messy work of loving each other for real. Everyone raised their glasses. To family, Hope said. To real family, Clara corrected. They drank, and the meal continued. Stories were shared. Laughter filled the room. At one point, Clara looked over and saw Victoria actually laughing at something Richard said, her face open and unguarded. Later, as Clara was helping with dishes, Hope came up beside her. This is what I always wanted, Hope said quietly. Not the fancy wedding or the perfect life. Just this. Real people loving each other for who they actually are. I know, baby. Me too. Do you think we'll ever stop working at it? Will it ever feel easy? Clara smiled. I don't think it's supposed to be easy. The easy things are the ones we take for granted. The hard things are the ones we value because we know what they cost us. Hope leaned her head on Clara's shoulder. I love you, Mama. For everything. For the house. For standing your ground. For teaching me what I needed to learn. I love you too. Always have. Always will. That night, as Clara drove home through the dark streets, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Mrs. Bennet, this is Caroline Morrison. You don't know me, but I saw your story online. I'm estranged from my daughter. Have been for 5 years. Your story gave me hope. I reached out to her today. She agreed to meet for coffee. Thank you for showing me that sometimes love means making hard choices. Wish me luck. Clara typed back, good luck. Remember, respect and love go together. Stand firm on that, but stay open to healing. You've got this. She set the phone down and looked out at the city lights. How many other mothers were out there, fighting for authentic relationships with their children? How many daughters were learning to stand up for themselves? How many families were doing the hard work of rebuilding on a foundation of truth? She'd never know all the stories. But she knew hers. And she knew it had mattered. Christmas came with snow and twinkling lights. Clara woke up on Christmas morning to find Hope and Marcus on her doorstep with coffee and pastries. Surprise, Hope said. We're spending the morning with you before we go to Marcus's parents' house for dinner. They sat around Clara's small living room, opening gifts. Hope gave Clara a beautiful scarf. Marcus gave her a gift certificate to a spa. For all the stress we put you through, he said with a smile. But the best gift was the one Hope pulled out last. This is from both of us, Hope said, handing Clara a large envelope. Inside were plane tickets. 2 of them. We're going to Greece, Hope said. The 3 of us. This summer. I want to show you where we went on our honeymoon. I want to make new memories there. Better ones. With you. Clara felt tears stream down her face. Hope, this is too much. It's not. You deserve this, Mama. You deserve to see the world. To have adventures. To be celebrated. Hope took her mother's hands. You spent your whole life sacrificing for me. Let me give something back. Please. Clara looked at her daughter. At the woman she'd become. Strong. Generous. Authentic. Everything Clara had hoped for and more. Okay, Clara whispered. Okay, let's go to Greece. They hugged, and Marcus joined in, and for a moment they were just 3 people who'd fought their way through pain to find something real on the other side. Later that day, after Hope and Marcus had left for the Castellano family dinner, Clara sat alone with her thoughts. She thought about the journey of the past year. The Instagram post. The house. The viral moment. The hard conversations. The slow rebuilding. She thought about the woman she'd been before. Invisible. Taken for granted. Afraid to demand more. And she thought about the woman she was now. Visible. Valued. Unafraid to stand up for herself. The difference wasn't in Hope. It was in Clara herself. She'd stopped accepting crumbs. Stopped letting love be one-sided. Stopped believing that being a mother meant always giving and never receiving. She'd learned that love required respect. That relationships were built on reciprocity. That you could love someone completely while still demanding that they treat you with dignity. It was a hard lesson. One that had cost her everything for a while. But in the end, it had given her everything back. And more. Her phone buzzed one more time. A text from Hope. Victoria just asked me about my plans for grad school. And when I told her, she said she was proud of me. She didn't criticize. Didn't try to change my mind. Just said she was proud. Mama, I think we really did it. I think we're all actually healing. Clara smiled and typed back, we are, baby. One day at a time. She set the phone down and looked at the framed mural photograph on her wall. The tree with deep roots and spreading branches. The words that had become her mantra. Sacrifice. Strength. Love. Dignity. Worth. Courage. All the things it took to stand up for yourself. All the things it took to demand respect. All the things it took to build a life and a family based on truth instead of appearances. Clara walked to the window and looked out at the snow-covered street. Somewhere out there, other mothers were fighting similar battles. Other daughters were learning similar lessons. Other families were doing the hard work of healing. She couldn't help them all. But she'd helped the ones who mattered most. And maybe, just maybe, her story would inspire others to do the same. To remember their worth. To demand respect. To stand firm on the truth that love without dignity is hollow. To fight for authentic relationships, even when it costs everything. To believe that broken things can heal stronger than they were before. Clara turned away from the window and picked up the journal Victoria had given her. She opened to a new page and began to write. My daughter got married and I only found out on Instagram. I sold her house. And then I got my daughter back. Not the daughter I'd lost, but the daughter I'd always known was there, buried under layers of pretense and fear. This is our story. This is how we broke. And this is how we healed. She wrote until the words ran out. Until her story was complete. Until she'd captured every moment of pain and every moment of healing. And when she was finished, she closed the journal and smiled. Because this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. The beginning of a new chapter. A new way of being family. A new understanding of what love really meant. It meant showing up. It meant being real. It meant demanding respect while offering grace. It meant doing the hard work, every single day, of choosing authenticity over appearances. It meant being brave enough to break things that needed breaking so they could heal stronger. It meant being willing to lose everything to find what truly mattered. And it meant knowing, deep in your bones, that you are worth fighting for. Clara stood up and walked to her small Christmas tree. She picked up an ornament Hope had made in 3rd grade, construction paper and glitter, the words "World's Best Mom" written in a child's careful handwriting. She'd kept it all these years. Through the good times and the hard times. Through the closeness and the distance. Through the breaking and the healing. Because some things were worth holding on to. And some people were worth fighting for. Even when the fight hurt. Especially when the fight hurt. Because that's what real love looked like. And Clara Bennett, at 63 years old, had finally learned what that meant. 6 months later. The Athens sun was hot and bright as Clara stood on the balcony of their hotel, looking out at the Acropolis in the distance. Greece was everything Hope had promised. Beautiful. Historic. Magical. But the magic wasn't in the ancient ruins or the blue waters or the white buildings. The magic was in the 3 of them, standing together, taking photos and laughing and making new memories. Mama, come here. Hope called from inside the room. Marcus is trying to read the Greek menu and it's hilarious. Clara smiled and turned away from the view. She walked inside to find Hope and Marcus bent over a menu, arguing good-naturedly about what to order for dinner. You order, Marcus said, seeing Clara. We trust your judgment. Those words. Simple, but meaningful. We trust your judgment. A year ago, no one had trusted her judgment. No one had valued her opinion. She'd been invisible. Now she was seen, heard, respected. All because she'd been brave enough to demand it. They went to dinner at a small taverna overlooking the sea. The food was incredible. The wine was smooth. The conversation flowed easily. At one point, Hope raised her glass. A toast. To Mama. For bringing us here. Not just to Greece, but to this place in our lives. Where we're actually honest with each other. Where we actually know each other. Thank you for not giving up on me. On us. Marcus raised his glass too. To Clara. The strongest woman I know. Thank you for teaching me what real love looks like. Clara raised her own glass, tears in her eyes. To family. The real kind. The kind that's built on truth and respect and the courage to fight for what matters. They drank as the sun set over the Aegean Sea, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink and purple. And Clara thought about the Instagram post that had started it all. The photo of Hope in her wedding dress, standing next to a man Clara barely knew. That moment had broken her heart. But it had also saved her. Saved them both. Because sometimes you have to break things before you can fix them. Sometimes you have to lose everything before you can find what truly matters. Sometimes you have to sell the house before you can build a home. And sometimes, just sometimes, the hardest choice you ever make turns out to be the best choice you ever made. Clara looked at her daughter, laughing with her husband as the Greek waiter tried to explain a dish in broken English. She looked at Marcus, who was actually listening, actually engaged, actually present. She thought about Victoria, who sent weekly emails now with updates on her therapy progress and genuine questions about Clara's life. She thought about Rachel, thriving in Seattle, building the life she'd always wanted. She thought about all the messages from strangers who'd read her story and found the courage to stand up for themselves. And she thought about the house, the symbol of everything, sold to a young couple who'd built their lives there, who'd kept the mural as a reminder that respect and love go together. My daughter got married and I only found out on Instagram. I sold her house. And I saved us both.